Tuesday, and the Wise Guys are back. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler. It is not just a regular Tuesday. It is one of the most significant Tuesdays in the history of BYU sports.
We call it
as the Big 12.
Big 12 Tuesday? Is that what we're going to call it?
We should call it Big 12 Tuesday.
We felt like BYU, as soon as the football season ended and the bowl game was over, which they won, that it was kind of transition time into the Big 12.
Yeah.
But I feel like when the schedules come out, that it's for real Big 12 Tuesday, right? We can now we can talk about it.
We've been waiting a long, long time.
Yeah.
And folks have had time to think about it all day long because the Big 12 released it at noon Mountain Time. So everyone's formulated some opinions, and we're going to dive into it in just a couple of seconds. So tonight we roll through the schedule, and then David Nixon, our BYU TV football analyst and colleague, will be along a bit later on.
And
we'll get his take on it.
You already did a whole show on this today.
We already did a whole show, so we got a lot of ideas kicking around.
I just got back from Hawaii late last night. Hopefully I'm not too shiny because I've got a little sun. But I know everybody's feeling really bad for me that I had to fly all the way home from Hawaii.
No one's feeling bad. Everyone's got hypothermia around here.
I had to do some regular work, but we've been doing our research today, and you did a whole show on it. And hey, how about the fact we got women's hoops in the house tonight? I'm really pumped about this. And that's who Dave and I were waving to over there. We've got Lauren Gustin and Morgan Bailey are joining us. Lauren, the nation's leading rebounder. And it's not close.
No.
So, and I've said this a couple times already on the show. I did the women's game, I don't know, about a month ago. Kristen had a conflict, and so I filled in for her, as she has done for me a couple times on the men's side. And I honestly, we were a full quarter into the game, and I just thought to myself, is Lauren going to get every single rebound in this game, or what is going on?
Even as she came in here tonight, she boxed out Jack, and this is Jack's place.
DJ went to shake Morgan's hand. She boxed him off. He couldn't shake Morgan's hand.
Then she looked for the ball, and there wasn't a ball, and she realized, I'm at the Wise Guys interview tonight.
Yeah, and we've got assistant coach Morgan Bailey, who knows a little bit about playing the same position that Lauren plays and knows about boxing out and rebounding. Actually, if that really happened, I would love to have filmed that, to watch Lauren try to box Morgan out to get to handshake with DJ.
We'll ask and see. We'll ask and see how that would go in a game setting.
So yeah,
because they practice and stuff, and I'll bet it's happened. So we'll get to the bottom of that.
We don't even think we're gonna have to ask Morgan if she suits up still sometimes at practice. And remember when you and I used to do the UNLV stuff, Stacey Ogman was back on the coaching staff with Dave Rice.
Yeah.
And we're at practice one day, and Stacey not only is participating, he threw a two-hand tomahawk dunk right on their starting center's head. And I was like, oh, coach.
That's tough love.
Yeah, that was
tough love right there.
That was a little.
So Lauren and Morgan are going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. No coach on campus, by the way, has won more games than softball coach Gordon Eakin. He's ready to start a new season and build on his 765 victories, and he's going to join us live later in the program tonight. But let's get to what everyone's talking about. This Big 12 football schedule released today by the conference. It doesn't matter now that they promised to do it in November and December and at the end of December and earlier what matters now is here it is, and let's roll it out for you. September 2nd, Sam Houston, in their first year of Division I football and a member of Conference USA, they come to town. That's a non-conference game. Southern Utah the week after, non-conference game, and then things get serious.
Yeah, then they go to Arkansas. And isn't it interesting? In the last couple years, we would have said, what are they doing playing Sam Houston and Southern Utah? And now we're going, man, why did they schedule Arkansas in the preseason? Like, they need to schedule 3 games they can win in the preseason, because that's a serious game that then kicks them into the next week where they've got to go on the road and play at a much improved Kansas football team who went 6-7 last year and up from 2 wins the previous year. So they just jump right into it after a road game at Arkansas, who's got a bunch of guys back.
Now, Kansas was in that triple overtime shootout with Arkansas at the Liberty Bowl.
Right.
This is a different group of Jayhawks than what we've been accustomed to over the years. This is a challenging opener on the road as a Big 12 conference foe, and I see a shootout all over this one.
Yeah, and you know what? We're not saying that they're the men's basketball Kansas Jayhawks yet, right? But they're certainly better than the Kansas where you just go, well, that's a win. In fact, there's not a game on this schedule other than Sam Houston and Southern Utah that I go, well, that's just a win for BYU. I think they go get a win at Kansas, but I'm not guaranteeing that.
No, you can't.
I'm not guaranteeing that. And then they follow that up by getting one of the other new members of the Big 12 at home. Cincinnati's going to travel out on the 29th and play at BYU on a Friday night.
You know what this tells me? This tells me a couple things. One, it's the Big 12 home opener, and that's significant. Two, it's conference weekend, and the Big 12 is respecting BYU's wishes of, we want to play on Friday on conference weekend, as opposed to, you'll play when we say you'll play because we're paying you $45 million.
Right.
And so out comes the Big 12 home opener on a Friday night conference weekend. How big will that be?
I think it's awesome. And we're going to get a lot more into this when Dave comes on. But Cincinnati's interesting. This is a team that's won 9+ games for 5 straight years. So it's a good program. It's not just a good team. It's a good program. But they've had some changes in this offseason. We'll talk about that when we get more into it.
Another interesting twist to the schedule is the bye week comes October 7th. So BYU will have Cincinnati on a Friday, and then Saturday off, a week off, and then another week to get ready for TCU in Fort Worth. How about that?
Yeah, and TCU, they got to replace Max Duggan. They're a great quarterback, but they're loaded, and they've got so much speed on that team. They're coming back after an appearance in the college football national championship.
Yeah, they were in the championship game.
Yeah, they didn't play great against Georgia, but really, who plays great against Georgia, right? The number 1 defense in the country. But that'll be great, and that'll renew an old rivalry where BYU used to go down to, remember when it was Amon G. Carter? I don't know if it still is, Amon G. Carter Stadium down there.
It's all spruced up. They might have the same name, but it's a Big 12 venue now.
So BYU's played there many times in the past. And then they follow that up with a home game against Texas Tech, where we know the football's going to be flying all over the field in that one.
Yeah, they still have the remnants of Mike Leach and what he established there with the Red Raiders and how they do things. But Lloyd Hill will probably be there. He has to be there for that one. That's the father of Keanu Hill. Lloyd's the All-American Hall of Fame receiver for Texas Tech.
Who's he root for?
He'll be here wearing his BYU shirt.
He's BYU all
and if
the way.
his brother Roy Williams comes to town, he'll be wearing a BYU shirt as well.
Yes, he will.
So Keanu gets a home game against his dad's old school. For a kid from Texas, he took a chance on BYU. BYU takes a chance on him. He's really developed into a go-to guy now. And now he gets to host the Red Raiders.
How fun is that? And then he gets to go the next week to his home state and play at Texas in front of 100,000+ fans against a Texas team that's, under Steve Sarkisian, who has BYU ties, is really on the upswing. Finished
8-5.
Yeah, last year, and improved. Early projections, like these way too early projections. I see several of these early polls that have Texas winning the league next year.
Yeah, and I can see that too. A lot of people think Texas is back. They have some high moments and then some low moments. And then the Twitter thing is Texas back? It always pops up there, and we don't know.
Well, here's what I want to ask Dave Nixon when he comes on. Does Texas stick with their quarterback that won 8 games, Quinn Evers, or does Arch Manning now get a chance to play?
It's going to be a lot of pressure on Sark to decide that. The last time BYU was at Texas, we were there. Mm-hmm. There's 100,000 fans down there. It was like 1,000 degrees. Even Bevo was hardly even walking around. He wanted no part of it. The Cougars won 41-7. Taysom Hill ran all over them, and the famous leap he did right in front of us about the 15-yard line and into the end zone. And there was such a weird feeling in Memorial Stadium. I mean, they were getting whooped again by BYU, who beat them the year before.
Back-to-back Taysom Hill taking him out the woodshed and just beating the crap out of him.
So we'll ask David Nixon, because Taysom's his brother-in-law, if the Saints have that weekend off, wouldn't Taysom run out the alumni flag?
With that would just scare everybody in the stands. The following year, I had a meeting down there, and we actually were up in the press box at Texas Stadium, and at Memorial Stadium, and we walked down on the field after the meeting. We were walking across, and we crossed that spot where you and I were standing. I'm like, to my buddy, who was an All-American baseball player at Texas in the day, and I said, "Hey, do you remember what happened right here?" And he goes, "Don't even go there." And I'm like, "What? Do you even know what I'm talking about?" He goes, "I know that's where Taysom Hill jumped over our guy."
It is not a pleasant experience.
Everybody knows, even the Texas fans, exactly where the hurdle happened, right there where you and I were standing.
DJ, let's put that schedule back up. For those on the podcast, we're looking at the schedule. We'll kind of talk through it, and you can find that schedule just about anywhere. But those watching live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and ysguys.com, at the moment. We're checking it out. November starts. BYU goes to West Virginia. I've been texting back and forth with our friend Doug Paisley.
Yes, Brad Paisley's dad, who we met when we were back there the last time.
He sent me a picture of their student section all wearing hard hats, and he says, be advised, we wear hard hats to games back here. I text back, I go, I don't even know what that means. But that's going to be interesting in Morgantown, BYU at West Virginia.
Does Brad have a concert out here again?
No, they're not touring this year.
Dang.
So maybe next year. I said, hey.
I missed out because he told us we could go get backstage passes, and then you were in town.
You've missed out
and
several
I was out of
times.
Town, and I missed out on the opportunity to go with Brad's dad to a Paisley concert.
The Paisleys have BYU shirts, and so they're equipped.
Yeah,
they won't wear them on that day.
They know the deal.
I said to him, hey, look, if West Virginia comes out here, you got to come out. Maybe we get Brad to sing the national anthem.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be awesome.
Iowa State and Oklahoma, back-to-back home games in November. Remember when we couldn't get anybody to come in November, like for 12 years?
Yeah, it was so.
Here's this.
I felt bad for Tom Holmoe, but that's all different. When I look at this November schedule, I'm just going, yeah, this is big-time football right now because it goes November 4th at West Virginia, November 11th, Iowa State at home in LaBelle Edwards. And then how about the 18th number? The Oklahoma, who's been a top 5 program for most of the last decade, had a little rebuild last year because the coach left and took 19 players with him. But that's not a program. That's not a program that's going to be down for very long. Brett Venables he had a remarkable recruiting class and is about to sign a bunch more. He's got some transfers coming in. Oklahoma's going to be right back up at the top of the league next year. They're coming into Provo on November 18th.
How about the Big 12 going, hey, Oklahoma, we wish you the best over there in the SEC. There's a good chance there's going to be snow in Provo on November 18th, so we're sending you there.
Good luck.
Thanks for coming. And then Oklahoma State and Stillwater on November 25th. That could have championship implications for Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
As the last game of the regular season, a week ahead of the Big 12 title game in Dallas.
And that's a phenomenal college football environment down at Oklahoma State. So it's going to be fun. Oklahoma State's interesting. And again, we're going to talk more about this with Dave, but what happened there in the offseason? Their quarterback transfers out. Their top 3 receivers transferred out. Their top running back transferred out. Their offensive court. It's just like, whoa, what just happened at Oklahoma State? And so I'll be really interested. They don't ever have losing seasons.
But they have a head coach that rocks a haircut from the 70s.
Gundy is like, yeah.
He's all business up front, and there's something going.
Business in the front, party in the back.
There's something going on in the back. So there it is, the 2023 football schedule for BYU in the Big 12. BYU TV football analyst David Nixon will join us later in the show, and we'll march through it again, and then we'll kind of start to pick which games we think BYU will win.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this, and then we'll talk about it more. So I read 3 different kind of way too early preseason predictions, and all of them have BYU between number 10 and number 12 in the league of 14 teams.
Really? I think they'll be in the middle.
I think no way. I think they're 5, 6, 7 in the league next year, which would be phenomenal.
And I think a big reason for that is Keaton Slovis,
right?
Aiden Robbins, and some of these guys that they've gotten in
that they don't know about. So
there
we go.
Tomorrow is spring signing day. BYU Sports Nation. Noon Eastern time on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Head coach Kalani Sitake will be there. Athletic director Tom Holmoe will be there. They'll get reaction to the schedule and to the recruiting class. And then once tomorrow's done, then it's the preparations for spring football, which is just around the corner.
Just starts the beginning of this next month. So let's talk a little bit about women's hoops before we bring our guests on. They're 12-10. 7-4 in the league, 8-2 over the last 10 games. So it just seems like, we had Amber on, Amber Whiting, before the season. She talked about a lot of new faces and that we needed to be patient. And that once they figured out their roles, that they would catch fire. And she was really confident they would be good once they got into the middle of the season. And hey, lots of respect for Amber. She called it, right? She absolutely called it. That's exactly what we saw. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it.
And didn't she say at the time that the key to the whole season was if Lauren was the number 1 rebounder in the country?
And she said if
did that not come up?
She said if Lauren can out rebound teams by herself, then we've got a really, really good shot.
So that's why
seems to be a habit lately.
They were right in the middle of the fight.
So last Saturday, Pacific upset BYU. That's a game I expected BYU to win, 79-66. Nani Falatea had 27 points, which is a career high for her. Lauren had 8 points and 17 boards. She surpassed 1,000 career rebounds at BYU, so she's number 2 all-time behind our old friend Tina Gunn Robinson with 1,482
Think about that.
career rebounds.
BYU's been playing basketball for a long time. There have been a lot of players come through, and Lauren is second to Tina in rebounds.
And Tina's before our time, so we're talking like 40 years ago?
Yeah.
40
we're
years
talking
ago.
79, 80.
That's something special to be up in that. And, we'll ask Lauren, like, can she catch Tina? We'll see. She's got another year.
Yeah.
So let's see. So last Thursday, BYU defeated St. Mary's 74-59. Lauren Gustin with 20 points and 20 boards. That's just what I expect out of
That's
out
what
of
she
her now.
does.
Just 20 and 20.
20.
4 assists to go along with that. And then Nani had 25 points, 2 boards, 6 assists. So how about 25 points and 6 assists? So combine that 1-2 punch, outside and inside, 45 points, 22 boards, 10 assists.
And then you go combined for the week, the 2 games, 78 points and 41 rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tandem.
Those are staggering
that's
numbers
tough to deal with
for a week. So
this week they are at San Diego. What a great place to go because it's freezing cold here.
I was at San Diego. I was in San Diego for 4 days, got home, flew to Hawaii the next day, came home.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
You
make of
deserve
this.
to freeze.
Like, I don't know what to make
Everyone
of this
here
right
needs
now.
to get out. You deserve to get in.
I don't feel right. I feel like cold.
So the Toreros are coming up that Saturday at 3 Mountain Time on the WCC network. The Cougars beat the Toreros 63-49 back on January 7th. Lauren out-rebounded the whole team 24-23.
Yeah.
Now that's
what I'm talking
That's just
about.
crazy. How does that even happen? There's 5 other players out there trying to get the
When Lauren
ball.
comes on and talks about this, I don't know how she's going to keep a straight face when she knows she's dominating the way she is. To not just have a smile on your face.
And we're
all
not
the
just
time.
going to roll out softball questions either. We've got some
Nope.
singers that
Like
this is.
she when we talk about how good she is, she better have a smirk on her face because she has to know.
Next
when you
home
out-rebound
game,
the other team.
Pepperdine at BYU. That's Thursday, November 9th on BYU TV at 7. As far as the league goes, Gonzaga's number 1 at 11-0. Portland's number 2 at 10-1. And there's BYU at number 3 at 7-4. They are just ahead of San Diego, so that makes it a very important game. Let's bring in our 2 big shots tonight. Lauren and
Come on in, guys.
Morgan. Lauren, you're over this way, and Morgan, you're over that way. And as they get situated, it's my pleasure to introduce our first 2 guests. They've got big roles to play in Amber Whiting's plan to lead the women's basketball program into the Big 12. Junior Lauren Gustin, the number 1 rebounder in the country, as we've established, a leader on the floor. Assistant coach and former Cougar star Morgan Bailey in her first year on the staff. It's an honor to welcome both of you to the Wise Guys.
And by the way, you guys, we had Amber, the very first major interview that she did after taking the head coaching job. She came in here, she sat right here where Morgan is, had not done a big interview, and she spent an hour with us.
And she was scared a little bit. I'll be honest, she was a little
She
scared.
was nervous about it.
She didn't know what we were going to ask, and then she's kind of walking in here going, "Well, this place is kind of cool, but what is this? This is our underground
We don't tell people
Wise
where we are,
Guys
so
studio."
please don't tell. Now you guys are on the inside. We tell them it's an undisclosed location in Provo in the East Bench, but
But then she lightened up, and we had a good time.
yeah, we had a great time, and she said, "Oh, that wasn't so bad." She didn't think it was so bad. So we hope that you guys have the same experience that Amber had when she came in.
So we've been talking about the Big 12 football schedule released today. And now that the teams and dates are out, does it feel a little more real that that's where everyone's going?
I mean, for me, not so much just because we're still in season with the WCC. But, I mean, it's exciting to see schedules coming out and dates and stuff.
When you think about from the football side, because I know you guys you follow all of the sports at BYU, is there a game that both of you kind of look at and go, "Oh, that's going to be kind of a fun one. That's going to be a fun football rival for BYU"? Is there a favorite team that you have from a football perspective that BYU is going to play?
I'm looking at the schedule. I'm excited for Oklahoma at home.
Yeah.
I think that one will be super fun. Texas is always good. I don't know. All of them are going to be fun.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Oklahoma at home. That's going to be a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That will be big. And we're also waiting on the basketball schedule, which will be enormous, especially for the 2 of you. How eager are you have you seen it? Have you seen the schedule?
Amber's seen it.
Because
Yeah, we've
it's
kind of
floating
seen
around. It just hasn't been released.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, Amber does a good job of we're just focused on the season right now with the girls. So we haven't really talked about Big 12 jump. Like Lauren said, we're just focused on finishing WCC play really strong. But I've seen a glimpse of it, and it's exciting.
In the event that, let's say the game's Saturday, so for maybe just a couple minutes, let's step out of the bubble just a little bit and talk about joining a P5 conference and competing in it. And they'll all know you're coming with the kind of season you're having. How exciting is that?
Yeah, I mean, we got a little taste of it playing Oklahoma this season and then last year. So they're always it's a fun atmosphere. I feel like, especially playing out there, really different. Good competition. So I'm excited for it. I think that hopefully we can get a lot more fans and whatnot at our home games. But I think it'll be a good jump for us.
And here I'm gonna preface this with this, Morgan, when I ask this, but like, I know you're supposed to just say, yeah, we just got to focus on the game this Saturday, right? Because that's what they tell us we all have to say. But I want to tell you, so I'm going to take you way back. It's 1984, and our coaches keep telling us, we just got to focus on San Diego State this week. But all of us were getting together and looking where we were ranked, and we're like, we're number 7 right now in the country. If we're going to get to number 1, then Ohio State needs to lose this week, and then we would go watch Ohio State and Michigan, and I'm not going to lie. We were focused enough on the games we were playing that week. We went 13-0, but we were also focused on down the road and winning a national championship. So this is a protected bubble. This is just us.
It's just us and then the world. So there's that.
We'll talk about the Big 12 for a minute, and then we'll focus right back on this week. Okay?
Perfect.
So Morgan, with that caveat, when you think about coaching in that league, in the Big 12, a P5 league with so many good teams, where does that take your mind? What are your thoughts on coaching against the competition in that league?
That was one of the main reasons why I made the jump over to BYU. I mean, as soon as we heard that they were going to the Big 12, I feel like, as a player, that was a dream of mine. Every time we went to the NCAA tournament, when we played NC State, when we played
and got to the Sweet 16,
Nebraska and UConn, those were my favorite games because it's going against like these top athletes and top programs. So those were the games I lived for. And so now that I'm actually going to be a part of it, coaching against the best, going against the best, bigger, faster, stronger, that's the game that I love. And obviously respect to WCC, the WAC, Big Sky, like all these conferences have a ton of talent. But when we talk about like Power 5 and actually being a part of, the legends that go through it, I think we're excited to not only go to compete, but go to win.
Two fierce competitors here on the show. And I'm not talking about us.
No. What's he talking about?
The notion of a Big 12 opponent every night for you. With how you like to play and your physical style and the success that you've had. Is that not like the ultimate challenge?
Yeah, no, it's exciting, especially thinking of even playing like Texas, going to be playing Shaylee.
Sure.
That's exciting. It kind of gets me more motivated, I feel like, in the off season, just, to be playing old opponents, old teammates. But like Morgan said, bigger, faster, stronger, everybody. So I think it's just, I feel like I got to get stronger, faster, even, bigger, whatever it takes. But no, like I said, it's just motivating. I feel like for me, it's going to be a lot of fun and challenging, I think too, to be able to play the best of the best. But I'm ready for it.
I love that Lauren says it's motivating. So when that actually happens, as you've prepared, and Shaylee comes down the lane, and you block Shaylee's shot. Okay, so you swat it. And it starts a fast break. You swat it out to the wing, and you get the ball to the floor, and you get a run out on the other end. Do you say something to Shaylee at that point?
See, I'm not much of a trash talker. I wish I was, but yeah, no, it's not my game. But she's killing over there, so I'm happy for her. But now I'm excited to have her back here and hopefully put up a good challenge against them.
On our live stream tonight, which can be listened to, watched anywhere in the world on Lower Carb Coug. If you look at the entire BYU sports programs, the women are way more prepared for the Big 12. Do you two agree?
Go women, yeah.
Well, just run down the sports. You can start with soccer, women's volleyball, gymnastics, women's basketball, track and field, cross country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not wrong, are they?
I don't want to start any.
No, seriously. Like Jen Rockwood sat here before the season. We said, Jen, you're going to be in the Big 12 next year. You still have this year. What are your expectations? And Jen's like, we'll go compete for a championship immediately. We compete for national championships. Like, what are you talking about?
I didn't mean to leave golf out either.
Right,
golf
right.
and tennis.
And then you look at, our women's cross country team and women's track. They're top 5 programs in the country. That they go in expecting to win a championship right now. In basketball and football, men's and the women's side, there's some more pieces we need, obviously, to compete for a championship in that league. Maybe the women are closer than the men at this point, really. But have you noticed, Morgan, in this recruiting class, this upcoming recruiting class, an ability to get some better players knowing that you're going to be in the Big 12? Like, this incoming mix looks like it's pretty talented. That's going to be added to Lauren.
And it's a top 25 mix.
Yeah. I think our recruiting class coming in, a lot of them are great players where before, if we were in the WCC, I don't think we have a shot at them because they want to go against big, fast, strong, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Having Genocide come over from Oregon was a huge get for us. Obviously, Amari. And then we have Kaylee Wilson, who's absolutely killing it in the state of Utah right now. I see her being the Gatorade Player of the Year.
At Lone Peak?
Yeah, at Lone Peak. And so just a lot of people who not only are great players, but will fit in with what we have right now. And that's what's important to us.
What if you recruited 5 Gustins? How would that work? Because I know you like to shoot. I know you like to shoot the 3. But you make a living down by the basket. But then there'd also have to be you at the point guard. Is there room for 5 Gustins out there?
I mean, there'd be a lot of aggressive people fighting out there, I feel like.
Well, that would be something to see. Now, as a former WCC Player of the Year, and averaged 17.2 points and 10.5 rebounds, which sounds a lot like some numbers over here, although these are a little bit further along this season. You know what it takes to battle in the paint. So what does Lauren have in her that makes her so effective?
Yeah. One thing with Lo, I did a interview not too long ago, and like Lo is a super special person. Like, you don't meet a lot of Lauren Gustins where you don't have to motivate her. Like, when she's on the court, she's on, whether it be in practice or games, and she sticks with what she's really good at. So rebounding, of course, we've improved. I think I don't want to speak for you, but I think she's improved finishing and reading and reacting to people. We've seen her 3-point shot and her kind of shot from 15-foot range. So to me, what makes her different from anyone I've ever coached is just, the grit, the heart, and it's consistent every single day, whether it be in practice, whether it be in a rebounding drill, passing drill, whatever it is, she's out there to win.
That's what makes for greatness, right? When you have it, but you still work at it. I loved, Lauren, that you said going to the Big 12 just motivates you to get bigger, faster, stronger, and do all of that. So a question for you. I mentioned earlier before you came on that in that game that I was broadcasting with Spencer, I actually asked the question in game, like, is she going to get every rebound? And like, I think she's just got like 10 boards in a row. Is she going to get every board in this game? Do you expect to get every board when you're out there?
I mean, I'd like to go for every single board, regardless if it's, offense or defense. So I definitely make a goal and effort to at least put effort towards every board. Sometimes the long ones, I'm not quite lucky, but I just love to crash every time.
And are you disappointed if you don't get 20? 20 all of a sudden is the norm. It's like, did Lauren have a good game? I don't know. Did she get 20 rebounds? That's not fair, but that's kind of what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing when I miss ones that I know I should get. But if I feel like I'm, putting the effort forward, whatever I end up with is, doable. But I feel like there's always a couple more that I can, push myself harder to, or, get a luckier bounce or whatnot.
I went and watched the San Diego game, and then I wrote an article about you in the Deseret News. And I started the article by saying Lauren Gustin plays as hard as she chews her gum.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if someone would think that was disrespectful because you chew on your gum and it's just a motor. Really, it was kind of a description of a motor that doesn't stop, and that's kind of what Coach Whiting has talked about, is that you have a motor that doesn't stop when you're on the floor. And I've noticed that you're able to do all these things, and you don't get in foul trouble, which is a gift. How do you avoid being so physical and staying out of foul trouble?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's address the gum thing. I feel like I do. I am very aggressive with my gum. I have to have gum in 24/7. I mean, I don't have it right now, but I get so like amped and going that if I don't have gum, and I'm literally biting my fingernails off.
And is it a new piece every time out?
Usually I have to have the same kind. I'm very particular on
What kind is it?
It's polarized extra. So
where's that from the bubble yum on the counter?
It's
is
just
that
like an
anywhere near?
experiment. It's like a
I don't even know where that. Like I don't even know.
So it's a fresh piece throughout. So you get some sugar and
start
some.
of the game, and then at halftime I always get a new piece, but that's about it. If the game's going bad, I'll switch my gum. I'm a little superstitious about that, but
So if the game's not going the way you want it, then you got to change the
Didn't
gum.
Michael
I'll
Jordan?
just switch flavor.
Oh my
Didn't
God.
Jordan switch his shoes? Didn't Jordan switch his shoes
He's
if it
like,
wasn't going right?
This isn't going right. Get me another pair of shoes.
Until you swap out the gum.
yeah, I'll swap out my
And,
gum.
and Rafa, if things aren't going well, he's like, this racket is not okay. He'll change to another racket. So with Lauren, it's like, it's not going okay. I need a different flavor of gum.
Yeah, I'll switch my piece of gum. I'm very particular about that. My trainer's always got my gum on hand, which is nice. But back to your question about.
I can't even remember because I'm fascinated about the gum.
Foul trouble.
Oh yeah.
How do you stay out of foul trouble and being as aggressive as you are?
Yeah, I think I've just learned over the years, kind of, how to play smarter, what to. You kind of have to get a feel of the refs, I feel like, at the start of the game and kind of see what they're calling and whatnot and then go from there. But, yeah, I just have had to kind of sometimes when I want to be a little more aggressive, I have to kind of, back off or just kind of know when to go be aggressive. And then, like I said, the refs sometimes, you kind of got to get a feel of them.
Yeah, some have happy whistles.
Yeah, they do, and you got to adjust to them. I was going to ask Morgan, we talk a lot about Lauren's rebounding because she's just otherworldly in that area. Like, she leads the nation. It's just crazy. But one area of her game, as we've watched, that's really developed is her ability to get the ball out of the double team. And teams are going down double, and Lauren, when she's got the ball on that low block, a lot of teams will come off of the guard line, off of a wing, and try to double from there. Sometimes they'll monster and bring another big over. But it seems like a lot of teams are trying to come down and dig it out from that guard line. That's been a benefit to Nani, who's sitting out there, and now with 2 on Lauren, she's unguarded. And she's really had this ability to get the ball out, and then all of a sudden, Nani's starting to knock down shots. She's feeling really comfortable. Her offensive game has taken off now. She leads this team in scoring. How much of that is Nani, and how much of that is Lauren, and Nani's ability now to score and lead this team?
That's what makes a dangerous team to me, is the balance. We talk about it all the time as a staff and with the girls, is that if they want to worry about our shooters, because we have a lot, not just Nani, we have Smiler, we have Ari, we have a lot of threats out there on the perimeter, but Nani's definitely our more consistent one right now. But if we have shooters, they have to worry about them, and they can't double off. I've been surprised at how many people have played Lauren and Emma one-on-one this year, but it's because they're worried about our guard line. Yeah. Who do they double off of? So then when they start hitting shots, it opens up for the bigs. If our bigs are killing it and they have to double off, we pass it out. And so then it's like, what do we guard? We don't know what to guard. And so that, to me, it reminds me of the Sweet 16 team that I was on with Jen Hampson, Kim Parker, Kylie Maeda. We were so balanced. It says, what do we take away? What shots are we going to give up? And so there was just no answer. And that's where I feel like we're headed with Coach Whiting, saying everyone just had to figure out who they were, what we are, and I think we're figuring that out and finding that balance.
Kempe Nicole on YouTube tonight. Lauren has good genes. Her great uncle was a player for the Cougars in 1958 and played with my dad.
Oh, I guess I was aware of that. I had a great uncle, but I mean.
So you got that.
Yeah.
So you got that going for you, which is nice. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that it's funny how people will follow your career because of connections to family members from years gone by, and all of a sudden you represent everybody.
I know. Yeah, my mom played here too for 2 years, so basketball, which is crazy to think about that, but.
Who's the best athlete in your family? Because Lauren comes from a family of great athletes, right? So who's the best athlete in your family?
I think everyone's gonna say themselves for sure. I mean, honestly, I think my mom, she wanted to come to BYU for volleyball and basketball, but she decided to pursue basketball. But I feel like she did it all really well: track, volleyball, basketball. The rest of us were kind of more dominant in one sport, I feel like.
So she set the tone.
Yeah.
And everyone
So
followed.
mom is the you know what? And I don't care what you say. That's a great answer. Like,
Yeah, she won't give herself credit for it, but
that's pretty awesome. That's a
BYU
great answer.
assistant coach Morgan Bailey and junior powerhouse Lauren Gustin on the Wise Guys tonight, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. So, Lauren, what does it mean to be the nation's leading rebounder? And there's over 5,000 players playing Division I college basketball. You're the leading rebounder. Is that a motivator to keep it going? What is it?
yeah, it's definitely a motivator. Never really satisfied. Any days, there's close seconds and thirds, so you kind of gotta, be aware of that. It's just every single game you gotta grind, battle, try to get every board you can. But at the end of the day, it's just what it's gonna take to win and get games, win games. So. If that means 20 boards, then I'm gonna do my best to get that.
And isn't it kind of cool? Isn't it kind of cool to be the number one rebounder?
Yeah, no, it's.
I mean, that's something.
To lead the nation. And we're talking about at an elite level, right? There's great players all over the
I
country.
can go right to your
You're
mom and
number
say,
one.
yeah, you're talking to the nation's number one rebounder.
Yeah, no, no, it's a good honor. But like you said, it's just, you got to be focused and go into every game with the mindset of just what it's going to take to win. So
I said earlier I was gonna ask this, so now I am like, can you be the all-time leading rebounder at BYU before you're done? So you need 482 to tie, 483 to pass by Tina Gunn Robinson. That marks, it's more than 40 years, right?
Yeah, just
more
over
than 40 years ago. That's a long time to hold a record. We had, who did we have on here the other night? Oh, Jimmer was on with us, and Jimmer was all mad that he was the all-time leading scorer for 2 years, and then Tyler took it from him.
Because it was a great gulf between Jimmer and Danny Ainge.
Right.
And then he only got to be
And
the
Jimmer's
king
like,
for 2 seasons.
That wasn't good. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
And my feeling is, if you go get this, like, it's going to be another long time. You can have that for a long time. Can you do that? Can you get that many?
I hope so. I mean, that's the plan. Obviously, Tina had a great career at BYU. I feel like she's all over the place. Her banner hung up in the gym and a lot of records set by her. So, something to strive for sure.
It's interesting. Last year I wrote a story about Shaylee's chase of Tina's scoring record, and that if she stayed at BYU, she had an opportunity to do that. And now we've just flipped it to now we're chasing the rebounding record. Tina's under hot pursuit all the time. So, Morgan, what would be the keys for Lauren to get that record? What needs to happen? Besides good health.
Yeah, besides good health. I think what she said is just come hungry every game and look for opportunities. Just be relentless on that. And I think she has great teammates around her who set her up as well. And she just has that instinct. And so what she does, you can't teach, honestly. Yeah. So, and so I just think keep going at it. And then as she gets faster and stronger in the off season, it will come in the Big 12 as well.
So Lauren, how helpful is it to look over on the bench and to know that you've got Morgan sitting there who played the position that you played, who was a phenomenal rebound, who was a leader on a team that went to the Sweet 16. It was all conference player of the year and all that. How nice is it to have Morgan there to bounce ideas off and coach you up? Yeah,
no, it's been a great honor to have her. I'm so glad she's here. This is my first year working with Morgan. And I've loved every second of it, just trying to take, full advantage. I feel like it's nice to have someone that you can really ask all the questions to, and she has all the answers, and she had a great career at BYU. So, we'll try to get work in after practice, and I'm always trying to, get her opinion on things because, she was a hell of a player. So
if we had a hoop behind us and there was a shot coming off the rim, who gets the rebound?
Lauren, every single time.
And no, she does. She does still suit up in practice, and she.
Now I have watched. That's the question. We have watched Morgan dominate in the WCC.
Does she suit up?
Yeah, she has a couple times in practice.
But I was not the rebounder Lauren was at all. Offensively, I could hold my own, but no.
Can she still ball?
Oh yeah, no, she has to come in to fill in for the boys that aren't getting the work done. So.
Is that right?
I love it. And you guys have some guys that come practice with you, right? To get a little more size out on the floor,
and speed and whatnot.
to help to get you guys ready for games. So sometimes it's like, dude, you're out. Morgan,
Yeah.
get in there.
Yeah, no.
To back up our boys, they're great athletes, and that's what they are. They're just athletes. So like
They're not basketball players?
So when they're guarding them, they're going for blocks and stuff, but it's not always realistic muscle, like
Right.
playing a certain way. And so that's when I'm like, get out, guys. Let's make this.
Morgan,
I got this.
I
Get
got
out.
this.
Dr. Catch 1000 says, question from Morgan. What's been the most surprising thing that you've experienced since becoming an assistant coach? And you were an assistant at UVU before, so it's
Yeah.
been a few years.
Yeah. Honestly, the most surprising thing is how rewarding it is. When I gave up basketball, when I decided not to play professionally anymore, I didn't know if basketball was going to reward me as much as it was when I played. And so being an assistant coach, I think the reward is seeing things click, seeing Lauren's success, Emma's success, Josie William, who I coached at UVU's success, like that, like brings me happiness and gets me like going. And so, I don't know. I'm just in it for the girls. I want to give them back an experience that I did. And so when I see them being successful, that's what's the most surprising to me of how rewarding it feels. So
Good answer.
There
Nice
you go.
job.
Lauren averages 15.6 points and 16.5 boards. Number 1 rebounder in the country. But she's on a tear lately. Like every time I look up, it seems like it's 20 plus. So, I mean, that number is going to go up. She and assistant coach Morgan Bailey are here with us on the Wise Guys tonight. Nani was going to join us tonight. She's not feeling well. She hopes she'll be better by game time.
sorry, guys.
We'll get her on
I'm not
another
as
night.
exciting as not.
And if we would have known
You're
that
just
Morgan was
fine over
available, I want all 3 of you guys coming on the next time. So we're going to excuse Nani because she's not feeling well tonight.
There was a lot that happened after the NCAA tournament last year. Lose to Villanova, and then a lot of things changed, especially for you. Let's just go down the list. There's Paisley Harding, Tegan Graham, Maria Albiero, Sarah Hampson. They all graduate. Shaylee Gonzalez graduates and transfers to Texas. Your head coach finishes up, so you're going to have a new head coach, and you've got to decide, do I stay? It's like that Clash song, should I stay or should I go? And you decide to stay. How come?
You know, I feel like some great, obviously some still teammates and whatnot that I played with that, you know, I loved. I played with Nani a lot last year, Ari, Emma. So I felt like, you know, we still were together. We had each other. And, you know, just having trust and faith in the coaches that were coming in. You know, I knew Morgan was a great player and great coach, so I was excited to have that. Lee was coming back, who was, I was really close with
Lee
Lee.
Camard.
Had a great relationship with him. And then, you know, I heard great things about, you know, Amber coming in and just her intensity and energy she was going to bring, and, you know, kind of a new culture to BYU.
Is it hard for a player of your caliber to go, okay, I've just got a little time left, and now I got a new coach?
Yeah. I mean, it was hard at first, you know, just realizing that I was going to have such a big change. Being my, you know, I redshirted my first year, so technically my 4th year here, but my 3rd season playing. But, you know, I was excited for the challenge. I was going to come with it. Losing a lot of upperclassmen was going to be different, but I knew I was going to lose, you know, the seniors that graduated. You know, Shaylee was a surprise, but, you know, it all worked out. I was excited to be able to play with Nani and, you know, Ari and Emma again.
You know, Lauren, you know, was already here, and Amber came in. You came with Amber. And so what's that been like? And describe her style to us. What's it like to coach with her? What's her coaching style, if you could describe it?
Yeah. So I already admitted this to Amber. When they hired her, I think all of us were like, interesting hire. Because, you know, coming
No, we
from
all
high
were
school,
that. We're
all
like,
of us
what?
were, yeah. And I admitted that to her. So if she's watching, don't be surprised. But we were all kind of interesting hire. But when I was at UVU, very happy with Dan Nielsen and what we were doing.
We love Dan.
Yeah,
he's
he's
great.
amazing. Yeah. And so when she said, I just want to talk to you, like, just come talk. And I was like, okay, you can try, but I'm happy where I'm at. And so when I went and talked to her in my interview, I was like, I get it. Like, I know why they hired you. And so the type of person she is that she does not care, like, about what anyone thinks. She's been under fire constantly with getting this job. But she doesn't care. She knows who she is. She knows what she wants to do. And so to me, as like a female coach as well, I love seeing, you know, a boss female in a power position ready to go no matter what's facing, whatever's in front of her. So I love that. She's spitfire and just like unapologetic, just does what she has to do and we get it done. And so that's what I really love about Amber, while still being open-minded and listening to what we have to do. So she's not like this dictator who's doing it all herself. She loves the help that we and what we bring, values us, while still, doing what she needs to do.
And your relationship with her has certainly evolved. Last year, you didn't have the opportunity to be the leader that you are now. How much joy comes from leading this team?
Yeah, definitely a lot more pressure, but I enjoy it. I think, the coaches have been really good with, pushing me, to go beyond my comfort and whatnot. And, and Amber and Morgan and Lee and all them having trust in me has kind of helped me evolve as a leader. And then just having my teammates, look up to me and push me as well. And having Smiler coming back, having that veteran has been really important just because, we've both been here, a couple years together through everything. But no, it's been a lot of fun. Definitely a growing moment for, I have to grow on and off the court. Gotta have to be a good example to the girls, but I couldn't be happier with the role I've had to play.
You both mentioned Lee Kamard. Morgan, I want to ask you about Lee as a fellow assistant coach. What's he like to coach with? We remember watching him play, and I don't know how many times I said on the air, what this skinny dude is like. He was one of the most physical, gritty players you've ever seen play, which didn't go with the body that he played with at all, right?
Mount West Conference Player of the Year.
Yeah, he was he was not like he's long, but he was never like the guy you're like, oh, he's going to go in there and bang and get boards and do all this kind of stuff. And then you would go out and watching him in the game, you're like, this has got to be the toughest guy I've ever seen out on the floor. The thing I remember most about him is his toughness. Does he bring that to this team? And what else does he bring as an assistant coach?
Yeah, to the skinny guy, it's so true. I watched like a highlight of him and I saw him throw it down and I was shocked. But he's just a well-rounded player. If he can shoot, he can drive, he can do it all. But as a coach, I really enjoyed Lee. Offensively, he's sharp. He's on it. Like, he knows his stuff. And so he sees things really well, knows adjustments in the game with the girls if they're playing us a certain way. So I've loved learning and growing from that. I also I've learned to love him challenging me all the time.
Learn to love.
So I'll bring in an idea to the table and Lee will just like totally crush, like challenge me on everything. And I love it because it's making me better, but it's also making me see a different side. So I love that he is fearless and Lo knows, like Lee's just Lee. Like he's not going to change for anyone. And I love that about him. He's just a genuine human being. And so I just like what he brings to the table. I love that he challenges us. I like that he forces us to think outside the box, and then we all come together and just collaborate that way.
All right, let's talk shop. Tomorrow's February 1st, which is awesome because that means January is over. But then the next month is March when we have the tournament in Vegas and then everything that comes from that. Gonzaga and Portland got you the opening 2 games of conference play on the road.
Yeah, how do we end up having to play the 2 of the best teams in the league on the road to start conference play?
On the road, and it was a Saturday, Monday game.
Yeah,
the WCC did to us.
Without being able to practice on Sunday.
Yeah, the WCC did to us what the Big 12 did to Oklahoma.
Just like saying, hey, Oklahoma, we know you're a warm weather team. Why don't you go play BYU in November? Right. That's what happened to you guys.
The beauty of the schedule, though, is you get those 2 teams the last week of the regular season. Now, there's some key games in between, but how important is it and how cool is it to get a shot at those 2?
Yeah, no, it's. I feel like for Gonzaga, every year everyone gets up for that game, especially to have that game be home and our last game of the conference season. I'm just excited to be able to play them again. I feel like the start of the season, we're a completely different team than we were then. We've come together more. We have, people play their role. We have better chemistry. So I think it's going to be fun to be able to see a completely different team play them. I thought we played them, pretty well for our first game.
You had Gonzaga. You had a shot at them then right down to the last couple of minutes. Portland got you a little bit, but
yeah, that one got us. Right. But I'm just excited to play both of them again, especially at our place. February 23rd and 25th.
It's already on your mind.
Yeah,
Fowler's still there.
She's still there.
She's a good player.
I also want to add a tidbit. When we played at Gonzaga, I don't know if everyone saw the interview of Coach.
Yeah, there was.
Of saying that they're losing to a team that doesn't have really good players, and so.
And that was different from Lisa 48. We had not heard her say something like that.
We've done a lot with Lisa over the years. That blew me away to hear her say that.
I was shocked to see it, but I respect that woman more than anything. But I think that's extra motivation. I think it's just all the hits that we've taken anyway. People don't really know who we are and what we have because they're not in the grind every day. And so if she thinks that's what it is, we'll show her the bad players that we have. You know?
Well, thank you. You came out of those 2 games 4-6, and then went on a 8-game winning streak.
That's who this team's won 8 of their last 10.
Yeah.
Right. So that's who this team is now.
Yeah.
Right. So road trip to San Diego this weekend. Toreros are right behind you guys in the standings. So how important is this road trip?
Yeah, very, very important. We really got to secure the win this weekend.
And how are you going to do that?
I think, we've been really focusing on defense this last week, just due to the, our 2 losses. So we got to come in, ready to play hard. Everyone gives BYU their best shot, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, and we got
especially this year.
Yeah,
the
for
last
sure.
year.
We got to handle their press, which I thought we did well last time against San Diego. And we got to play good defense, and everyone just got to play their role.
We were surprised at the Pacific game. Santa Clara came in and just shot lights out.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
Sometimes it happens in basketball.
I don't think they
right?
missed any back-to-back threes the whole game, and that's just their day. Pacific was a little bit of a different one, but this league there are those kind of games for everybody every night that aren't the top 2 teams.
Right. I feel that people get up for BYU too. I mean, this program has established itself as a powerhouse along with Gonzaga. And so those are the games that are easy. And so I think the Santa Clara and Pacific had a common theme. It was our second game. We didn't come in as sharp as we should, defensively especially, like Lauren said. And so with those ones, we're playing teams that really don't have anything to lose. That's when we have to be even more sharp.
When you say it's the second game of a two game series where you're playing Thursday, Saturday, or Saturday, Monday.
Yeah, so they were our second game in the week. Right. Yeah.
So for the San Diego game, which you out-rebounded the Toreros, as we mentioned, and that's not the first time you've done that. But
she did smile when he said that. I want to make sure, like, she
everyone see that?
I just wanted to smile and just like, yes, I did.
So I sat behind the San Diego bench, and I was mostly watching you because I wanted to write a story. I was watching what you did away from the ball and all that stuff. But there was a moment in that game where you got your 20-something rebound, and Cindy Fisher, who's coached forever and has been very successful, throws her hands up in the air because they had a timeout, and everyone on that roster and the 5 in the game knows they've got to box you out. And they talk about it, and then 2 seconds later, you've got another rebound. And so I was just watching her react to trying to beat one of the best players in the league. And it just wasn't happening that day. So I don't know if they'll put 5 people on her to box her out on Saturday, but going into the second game, having done what she did in the first game, how do you plan to counter what San Diego has to do? They're going to do something different, and most of it's going to focus on Lauren. So as you plan your strategy this week, how do you come up with a counterattack?
Yeah, we're prepared for if they do come in and double. So we've been working with the posts of being more patient in the game. Whenever we get catches, let's chin and check to see where the double's coming from. If I'm one-on-one, let's read and react that way. So if they want to send a double, we'll kick it out to our shooters. And like I said, balanced game. Like, our guards got to hit these shots so that we can open it up more, and maybe in the second half or later in the game. I think last game plan, you could see that Lauren was a focus, especially on the boards, and that they were actively trying to keep her off and just couldn't. So that's going to be a lot of Lauren's just will to go get it. I think she was successful once. She'll be successful again. It's really hard to box out someone who's as strong and athletic and fast as she is.
It's a compliment to be triple teamed, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It's not fun, but it's a compliment.
And you know, it's game break. It's really back breaking, Lauren, when you go get offensive boards. So because sometimes when you're on the road, shooting doesn't travel as well as defense and rebounding, right? And so you go on the road, maybe you don't shoot it, you're a few percentage points lower than you are at home. But you can make a huge difference in the game by going, that's fine. Every time they miss it, I'll just go grab it and we'll have another shot at it. Do you think that way when you go on the road? I need to really get on the offensive glass.
Yeah, like you said, sometimes our shooting doesn't travel. So I really feel like rebounding is really just, an effort, kind of like the defensive side of things. So, yeah, especially on the offensive board, I feel like sometimes on defense that they don't box out as hard on that side of things. So it's kind of easier sometimes to get an O board because they do expect everyone to get back in transition. So sometimes I think that's an advantage is to, kind of sneak in there and try to grab that O board. while everyone's running back. So.
Couple more questions, and we'll let Lauren and Morgan go. They're on the Wise Guys tonight. I want to do a follow-up from Kempe talking about your great uncle. And she says, I'm watching this with my 85-year-old dad who played with your great uncle, and he just said that he's your biggest fan. Next to your parents, he raves about how great John Gustin was.
Oh.
So you got that going
sweet,
for you.
yeah.
Isn't that sweet?
His 85-year-old dad. That's
Wow.
pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Fans of all ages, Lauren.
Hey, who do you got in the
Appreciate
Super Bowl? Who you taking in the Super Bowl?
That's important.
Well, you answer this one.
I think I want the Eagles to win.
You want the Eagles?
Yeah.
Do you have a tie to the Eagles or just like you just like
So the fact that Andy Reid's not one of the greatest
yeah.
Cougars is not enough to draw you in?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted the Bengals to really beat the Chiefs, but
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna root for the Eagles in this one.
Eagles are good.
Yeah, I don't have a preference. My mom grew up in New England, and so we've always been Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics fans. So
you're on the outside looking in?
I just want a good game. Yeah.
We'll take a good game. How
Yeah,
about that?
yeah,
We'll take a
yeah.
good
Yeah,
game.
we'll
I
take
still
a
have to
good
come up with the family
I
prize.
have to root for Andy.
Yeah, that is
'Cause
true.
Andy was our he coached here. He was when I was playing and I played quarterback. Andy was the graduate assistant coach that worked with quarterbacks, and so spent every day in a meeting room with him for a year or two. And it's like, how can I not root? Like when he was at the Eagles, I root for the Eagles. I got to root for Kansas City.
Isn't it interesting? The two quarterbacks, Hurts and Mahomes, have changed the way quarterbacking is done in the NFL, and now they get to collide in the Super Bowl as mobile quarterbacks who just make stuff happen. And you mentioned when you're talking about Lauren being different from the others, there always has to be somebody who just does it better than everybody else, and then they lead and take a team to the Super Bowl or to a big win this Saturday. And so you're kind of like the Mahomes, Hurts of
That's an honor
of
to
the
be.
Cougars. Is that what it sounds like? It kind of sounds like that.
It's absolutely right. Yeah.
I like
You can
it.
out rebound both of them, so you
I
got
like
that going
that
for you.
analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's do 5 questions and we'll get you both out of here tonight.
Yeah. So we always end with all of our guests these 5 questions. We keep it just to see who does what. So we're gonna ask both of you the same questions, and then you don't have to think about it much. You just put the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
So your favorite sports movie?
Mine's probably Glory Road.
Oh, that's nobody said Glory Road. I
Yeah,
don't think.
I love Glory Road.
That's great.
Glory Road.
Lauren?
Mine's probably gonna be just I would say The Blind Side. It's not. I mean,
That's a good
Hey,
one.
you don't need to. You don't need to. That's
You
a
do
classic.
not apologize. Blindside is great.
Do not apologize for that.
Who was I just talking to? I was talking to somebody, and they were asking me about Blake Freeland, who's from BYU. He's gone out to the NFL draft, and they were saying, why is he so valuable? I said, well, because he plays left tackle. He plays the blind side. And they said, well, what's that? And I explained it to him. Most quarterbacks are right-handed, and that's the side that they can't see. And I'm like, have you never seen the movie The Blind Side? They go, no. I go, you need to watch that.
What
And then you came up with Blind Side.
Who was better in that movie, Sandra Bullock or Tim McGraw?
so yeah, I love Sandra Bullock. She's one of my favorite actors. So
I thought she nailed that role.
She was so good. I love Sandra
and
Bullock.
McGraw nailed the role of being married to someone who is very outspoken and controlling.
And Tim McGraw, by the way, he can do no wrong with my wife. We're watching this series Yellowstone, and he plays like the great grandpa.
Yeah.
And he's like beard that comes all the way up to here, and it's just like, oh, Tim McGraw. I'm like, Tim McGraw. He looks terrible right there.
He was
McGraw
awesome.
Never looks terrible to her.
Did you go to Stadium of Fire last year?
no, I didn't.
Oh, McGraw was
know, he
awesome.
was
that
so
night.
good.
He was on.
Okay, so
on
now
point.
we're going to this next question. So we got Glory Road and Blindside. Favorite singer or band?
Ooh, okay.
Let's see. We started with Morgan, so
Yeah.
let's start
Let's
with
start with
Lauren.
this
Think
time
about
off.
this.
Yeah. Oh shoot. I feel like there's so many. It depends on the genre. Okay, this is like really weird, but I really like Eminem for some reason.
What's wrong with that?
There's no reason to apologize for
growing up, I
Eminem.
listened to him
I'm just
so
gonna write him
much,
down.
so-
Marshall Mathers.
Lowe's known as the country girl. I don't know why.
I
but
know. I don't know why
Ryan's
everyone
like,
thinks I'm like some big country girl, so they
saddle
always
up,
yeah.
You know?
What was one of his big songs? I heard on the radio, so it was a cleaned up version. Was it the
You're like,
one
doom,
shot
doom,
or
doom,
the?
doom, 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 doom. Sorry, like that.
What
like,
is it?
You only got one shot, one opportunity.
Yeah.
What's
Coach-
it called?
Coach Pope wrapped that
It's
up.
Coach Pope's
Coach
thing.
Pope.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Palms are sweaty.
Yeah, that's losers.
Mom on your sweater already.
All right, what do we got, Morgan?
Okay, no one knows him. Teddy Swims is by far my best. So,
Wait, Teddy Swims?
Yeah.
What is he? What? Give me his best song.
Teddy Swims. Is that really a
Dose.
person?
Yeah, I have
No, you guys, he's good.
Dose?
Dose, like Dose.
Dose. Because I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah,
Because
Cougar Nation, go look it up.
Teddy
but-
Swims. So I gave everybody 2 weeks ago Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
And none of them heard of Jelly Roll. Have you heard of Jelly Roll?
No, but we ordered a dozen.
Yeah, I've never
Go
heard of
look
that.
up Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
It's kind of country rock, and I'm not even a country guy. This guy's from upstate New York, where I grew up. Very soulful. His Son of a Sinner. So you go listen to Jelly Roll, Son of a Sinner, and I'm going to ask you guys next time I see you if you like it.
Teddy's
And I'm-
pretty soulful as well.
I am going to
so-
look up Teddy Swims,
Teddy
and I'm going to listen.
Swims.
I'm going to listen to Dose.
So I'm a mixture of Keith Urban and AC/DC, so I cover the gamut.
Oh, okay.
He's like he
Run it all.
does.
Run it
He's
all.
I got
country and hard
mixtures
rock.
too.
I was gonna
I
say
like Cody
everything
Johnson,
I don't
too.
know.
Oh, yeah?
Are you? What are you? What's your genres?
I'm like more R&B. I'm not like a hard rap, like trap music stuff.
I grew up in New York, so I'm a
R&B,
hip hop
R&B.
guy, playing basketball and football, and you're not the country girl.
Well, I definitely like my fair. Like, I like country music for sure. I'm not even a big rap person. I just like him because I just grew up listening to him a lot. My older brothers were always listening to him, so it kind of brings back good memories.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I would say more. I'd probably lean more towards country music right
more of a
now.
country.
But
So,
I
like,
was-
would you say Keith Urban is better than Tim McGraw, Brad Paisley?
yeah, I really like Brad Paisley. I went to his concert a couple years ago.
He's awesome.
He's friends
yeah.
with him.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about
Okay.
earlier.
His dad.
Yeah.
He's
We
cool.
met his dad. So.
That's cool.
His dad drives the tour bus wearing a BYU football shirt.
I
So
love
Oh,
it.
really?
This week I was in Hawaii, so I really got into the Common Kings. They have a bunch of
I
like
love
island
Common.
kind.
Yeah, yeah.
So like Wade in Your Water and some of those, and then I found out they're from SoCal. I was like, why did I think they're from the islands? I'm like, I need an island artist, and then I just diverted. And
Did you go to Don Ho?
No, I went to Jack Johnson. What are you talking about, man?
Kalohi Kai is one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Kalohi Kai.
But Jack Johnson,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
So favorite breakfast cereal.
Well, we're back over here.
It's Morgan's turn.
I think like those oatmeal squares, the brown sugar oatmeal squares. They're good.
Oh, because they do have sugar on
yeah.
it.
Do they at least have a
Cinnamon Toast
name?
No, they're
Do they
called
have a
oatmeal
name?
squares. They're brown sugar. I don't know.
I'm writing that
I'm
down.
not really a cereal.
Brown sugar. I have to look up a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff that Morgan's given us. And I have to look up these. So we kind of make fun on the show of people that eat healthy cereal. Danny Ainge comes on and says, shredded wheat. And David and I look at him
Like with the
"Stop-
frosted on it? He goes,
stop
no, just shredded
Stop
wheat.
this. And he goes, oh, I do put a lot of sugar on it. And we're like, okay, that just saved it. So Lo, what do you
Mine's
got?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
Honey bunches.
I know.
A lot of people like that.
Yeah, I love that one.
Okay, can I change mine?
Yeah.
Because mine's lame. Captain Crunch.
I'll be honest. Anything with
But
Captain
you-
Crunch beats
but you
oatmeal
can't eat too much
squares.
because it tears up your mouth.
Yeah,
It
will
really
kill you.
does.
The roof
It'll
of your
take the
mouth will
roof
kill
right
you.
off.
But Captain Crunch.
Nice. He likes Captain Crunch.
That's a good save.
Do you like the
Almost
Crunch
squares
Berries
those.
or just the regular Captain Crunch?
I like with the Crunch Berries. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I
Berries
will
are the
eat
best part.
all of the Captain Crunches and leave the Crunch Berries for 3 big bites. So there you go. Okay. Favorite thing about your favorite thing, Lo, about Morgan, and Morgan, your favorite thing about Lo.
All right.
Okay. I think Morgan has a goofy side about her that people don't really see unless you spend more time with her. I've got to know that over the last couple months. So, just getting to know her personality, I think it's really unique, and I love how she can be. She's a little bit of a weirdo, which I love. So
I'm really weird.
All right, now it's your turn.
Your turn, Morgan.
Okay, I have 2 things for Lo. Okay, Lo is really funny. Like, she's hilarious. Just little comments that she'll say. Can I tell a story really fast?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
oh no.
Okay, I wasn't even there, but I laughed my butt off. But they were getting in an elevator last trip, and there was this dude. The door opens, and this dude is in like cowboy boots and just standing outside, and he's like, "Can I get in?" Is that what he said? Can I get in? And then she just goes, "Saddle up."
No, you did not.
She did.
I don't know why I said it. It just came out.
But then she invited weirdness in because
Yeah,
then I
that did
guess-
invite
because
weirdness
I guess
in.
he didn't turn around, like he just stood and looked at
Yeah,
them.
he
So
was
he
really weird when he got in.
got in the elevator and faced the back while everybody else
Yeah,
was
he
facing
just
the front?
faced us directly, just right eye to eye contact the whole time.
Oh, that's not
Hey,
weird.
it's not
That's
his fault. It's
weird.
her fault. She
I
invited
know,
it
I
in.
did invite it.
That's awesome.
Okay, but my other thing was that she's super humble. Like you guys,
Yeah.
everyone sees it. Just how she's killing it. She's number 1 in the nation. Like that's very rare to have on a team, and she's super humble. Cares about her teammates.
I love that.
And so yeah.
I love that. Okay, and last one. Favorite advice from either your mom or your dad? And it's Morgan's turn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite advice from mom or dad?
That's That's a hard question. I think from my mom, I came from a single parent home where my dad wasn't involved ever. And so my mom had to raise all us three by herself. And so I think just working, like put your head down and work is what I've learned from her, and never settle for what you have. Just keep trying for more. And it inspired me in my basketball career as well. So.
Right.
Put your head down and work, and don't be satisfied.
Yeah.
Does she ever tell you to put your head down and work when you're out there?
Morgan say that?
She definitely motivates me to work harder.
I love that. That's great. What about you? Any advice from your mom or your dad that you remember?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. I feel like, I mean, they're definitely my, biggest role models. So, one thing, they've definitely taught me to, try to outwork everybody at the end of the day, be the hardest working person in the room. But one thing I've loved that they've always taught me is just how important it is, like family and just being loyal to family. And at the end of the day, your family's, who you've really got. So I like that because I feel like that could, me, my teammates, my coaches, everybody. So just trying to live a life where, I'm, making these relationships with people to be, all part of like my family. So I would say that, just being loyal to my real ones, and then just, working hard, being the hardest worker.
Work and be loyal. Man, that's
Words to live by.
Those are words. And I love that you call your teammates and your coaches family, because that's important. Right. So great stuff.
Gordon Eakin's going to join us here in just a second, and he's got Violet Zavodnik on his team. Has there ever been a time on campus when there have been more dynamic female athletes? You just pick the sport. You go to a track and field and you got national champions. Soccer, you got big time. We're sending players into the pros. You're the number one rebounder in the country. Zavodnik's ranked number 28 player in the country.
Overall, at any position.
This is a
Top
cool
30
time,
player in
isn't
the
it?
country.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to see all these females.
Yep.
Hey, we're proud of you.
The women's teams are ready.
Big 12 ready.
For the Big 12.
Let's be San Diego ready on Saturday,
Yes.
right? Let's get after that one.
Now we talked about a lot of stuff. Now you can go focus on the Torettos.
Now that you've been to the Wise Guys, the rest of the week is.
Yep, and we're gonna send you off with good karma.
Hey,
Yeah, that's what we
it's
need.
great to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks so
guys
much.
so much.
Our
Well, thanks
podcast
for
will be up
coming.
tomorrow, and the clips of this we'll share with the world all week, and we look forward to following you Saturday. And of course, we'll be down announcing the tournament in Vegas, and we'll finish this right out. Our last year in the WCC,
Yeah.
exciting time, and the Big 12 is waiting.
Yes. Yeah.
All right,
And
thank you,
we're
both.
so glad that we could introduce you to everybody in the world and they could get to know you better.
Yeah,
So
thanks for
so
having
much
us.
for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you for
Thank you,
having
Coach.
us.
Appreciate it, Lauren. We'll
Thank
let you
you,
just
guys.
take off. That's the nature of the thing. You throw your headset down,
Yeah,
you
when
grab
it's-
your
yeah.
waters, and
It's
get
different
out.
format than when you come in studio with us in BYU TV. It's like, we got a commercial break, we got this, we got that. Nah, you just hang out with us.
This is nice. I love it. You guys
so-
are awesome.
Hey, thank
thank you
you.
so
Thanks,
much.
Lauren.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming over. Our next guest has won 765 games at BYU, the most of any coach on campus by a mile. His teams have won 11 straight conference championships. He's coached 15 conference players of the year, was named coach of the year in 2009, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 2021. A member of the Utah Fast Pitch Hall of Fame. Our pleasure to welcome BYU's head softball coach, Gordon Eakin, to the Wise Guys. Hey, sorry for making you wait for these two superstars to clear out, but we're sure glad to have you on the show tonight.
No, I understand it. They're far more interesting than I am.
No, that might not be true, but it might be true. Let's just see how it goes. But when you talk about what Lauren's doing on the basketball floor, and we just asked her a moment ago, I don't know if you heard the end of it, and what Violet Zavodnik's doing on the softball field, and then you just go to all the other sports on campus. This is a unique time for female athletes at BYU, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, female athletics in general has just really taken off, and the level of play has gotten better and better and better. But I have one question. How did you get my old Granite High School locker in the background
There we go, right there. Wait, is it the gray one right there? Which one is it, or is it behind?
No,
Dave?
it's the older ones. It's the brownish ones.
Oh.
Listen, our
okay.
crew went on a mission to find these things. That looks like it's right out of Granite High.
Right out of that's my locker right there.
That's great.
Well,
Hey,
now I want to go see what's inside it.
My father-in-law was an old Granite High guy, and they've got great roots up there in that Granite School District. So I appreciate that for sure.
Hey, of your 765 career victories, which one's your favorite?
Oh boy, there's a lot of them. I think if I had to pinpoint one over the others. It's either the 2010 victory in the Texas regional, where we won that regional and went on to the super regional. We beat Texas and then beat East Carolina in the championship game. Those were big wins. And then that a couple of years ago against Utah, when we were up 4-1 in the 7th inning and they hit a grand slam to go up 5-4.
Oh yeah.
And then we came up and hit back-to-back home runs in the bottom of the 7th to win it 6-5.
That was magic.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was big time.
I might vote for that one. I
Yeah.
love that one. I love that
That
one.
was it was improbable, and it was mad. It was improbable that the Utes got back in the game, and then the way those 2 home runs played out, it just I remember watching it on TV, and you're just smiling because you're like, I can't believe I watched this. It was exciting.
Yeah, that was fun. I think I got enough height on my jump with that second home run. I could have played basketball.
Hey, and your hamstrings held up, so you got that going for you too.
Yeah.
Coach, you're starting your 21st season. That's just amazing to think back. It seems like it's flown by to me. I'm sure it has to you as well. As BYU's head coach, 1 week from Thursday, February 9th, against North Carolina, but the game's down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. First of all, well done for
Yeah.
for going down there. How did that all come together? Were you playing this tournament down there? And a follow-up question after you answer that: how can Dave and I come along and
Yeah.
join that little road trip?
Well, if you got your passports, you can come.
All right, I'm in.
We do have our
those.
passports.
Well, there you go. We fly at 11 o'clock on Monday. Just be at the airport.
Awesome. How did that whole thing come together? And tell us a little bit about the trip down to Mexico and what that entails.
Okay, so Dave King owns Triple Crown Sports, and Triple Crown Sports is a big player in the high school travel ball arena, hosting a lot of tournaments around the country and national tournaments. And he also does the women's basketball NIT. And then he really got into softball. And over the years, because I've been here a long time, I developed a relationship with Dave, and Dave approached me and said, what do you think about coming to a tournament in Puerto Vallarta? And at first I thought, I don't think so. I think that's just kind of strange to me, and I don't think so. But he really needed a college team that was willing to commit to kick this thing off. And I trusted him, and I agreed to be his first college team ever to go down to Puerto Vallarta and play. And he really knows how to host a tournament. We went down there and it was just magical. We stay in the Sheraton Resort right on the beach, and you physically walk across the street to the ballpark. And he brings all the top teams in the country in every year. This will be our third or fourth, I can't think of which, trip to Puerto Vallarta, but we're a mainstay there, and we just love it.
Well, you get some big-time opponents as well. You get 3, I think it's North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Maryland down there in Paradise. And so you get 3 P5s right out of the gate.
Yeah, and it'll be 84 degrees, so we might go through a little culture shock with what's going on here right now.
It's been awful here in December and January. We're just hours away from February. But how does the team get work in when there's so much snow here in Provo?
Well, actually, in the early part of January, we actually got outside a couple of times because it was, 40 degrees, 45 degrees and sun, and our field wasn't frozen. So we got outside, but we're fortunate at BYU to have the indoor practice facility.
Yeah.
Which is, we scrimmaged, we had a blue and white game in there today. It's big enough for us to practice in. It's big enough for us to play a game in. It's got nice turf. You never get a bad hop on a ground ball. That's the one disadvantage, is not seeing dirt, but we get in plenty of quality practice because of BYU's indoor practice facility.
Last year you guys finished 42-10, 13-2 in the conference, but you were left out of the NCAA tournament by virtue of LMU winning the regular season series. Has that, I'm going to call it a snub.
Yeah.
Has that snub, that's a good word for it, right?
Yeah.
Has that been a motivator in this offseason to get back to that NCAA tournament?
I would say yes and no. First of all, we just had off weekend when we played LMU, and you can't do that in a conference that only plays 15 games because you have an off weekend. And I mean, we didn't lose another game the whole year and tied for the conference championship, but because they beat us 2 out of 3, they got the automatic bid. And the way we looked at it immediately on selection Sunday is that was our fault, because we felt like if we blamed it on anybody other than ourselves, we wouldn't correct the problem. So we looked at 2 things. 1, we can't have off weekends. And 2, that we need to continue to build our strength of schedule. So at 42-10, there's no way they can leave us out of the tournament. I mean, we were right on the bubble, and being in the WCC and starting so late when all the other conferences start, in early March, it's hard to schedule at BYU. We won't have that problem in 2024,
right,
going into the Big 12, but we chose to really take it upon ourselves and say, hey, that was our fault. We didn't make it. And then we do have a chip on our shoulder, not because the NCAA snubbed us, but because we messed it up, and we're not going to do that again.
I love that. You got to. Hey,
yeah.
Who does that these days, Gordon? Nobody takes responsibility.
We blame everyone else.
We blame everybody else. He just took responsibility, and I love that.
That's what makes you the man. That's why you have so many wins and so many Coach of the Year honors.
765 comes
Took me
when you
20 minutes to do your intro. It's crazy.
765 comes when you own it, right? When you own it. So.
And I know you hate when we sit here and talk about all the things you've accomplished, so you're just going to have to put up with some of that tonight. But as if you look at the schedule, your team is one of the last at BYU to be competing as a member of the West Coast Conference by nature of how deep the season goes into the early summer.
Right.
Are you going to miss the WCC?
I really enjoy the relationship with the softball coaches in the WCC because they're quality people. I will not miss the softball. I've been here 22 years, as you've said, and I've always wanted, we've tried to play the best in our non-conference schedule, but I've always wanted to be part of the best conferences, competing every weekend in and week out against the best competition. And we just don't get that in the WCC.
Yeah.
And that's not because of the coaches. It's because of the support from some of the WCC schools. They just don't support softball, and they're trying to field teams with, 8 scholarships when you can have 12. And so I really think if the WCC looked at softball the way they do basketball, I would have different feelings leaving the conference than I do now. But I am so looking forward to joining the Big 12 and the competition that we're going to have to play every week. I can't wait for it to happen.
Gordon, Dave and I have talked about it. We've talked about it on this show. Our women's sports across the board feel like they're P5 ready, and your program is one that, from our observation, looks like, hey, this is a program that's been P5 ready for a long time. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. I mean, we've played, like I say, we try to play the best teams that we can get. And the last 2 years, we've been fortunate. We got Baylor to come into Miller Park for a 3-game series 2 years ago. We swept them. We got Iowa State to come in last year. We swept them. And they are high quality softball programs and what we're going to compete against. And so I think we're ready to compete in the Big 12. It won't be easy because certainly while Oklahoma's there, they're the premier softball team in the country by far.
Right.
And Texas played Oklahoma for the national championship last year.
Yeah.
So, and then Oklahoma State's ranked 3rd this year. Baylor's been a World Series team. UCF went to the Super Regional last year, Final 16 team. So the competition is very daunting, but we're ready to play in it. We're ready to play in it right now. And we're not going to overlook the WCC season because we don't want to be left out of the tournament again.
Yeah.
But we're ready to go right now.
We're visiting with BYU softball coach Gordon Eakin on the Wise Guys, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. BYU got their first football schedule for the Big 12 earlier today. BYU TV football analyst David Nixon's going to join us in a few minutes. Now, you have already seen next year's Big 12 softball schedule. How does it look? It hasn't been released yet, so we won't pin you down on that, but what do you think?
Well, it's tough. I know there's 3 series in particular that are a little tougher based on the schedule. We have to play at Oklahoma. We have to play at Texas, which is last year's defending champion and runner-up.
Yeah.
And then we have to go clear across the country to UCF. So, but we're going to do whatever we have to do to be ready to. We're not going into the Big 12 to compete. We're going into the Big 12 to win it. And if we look at it any other way, then you fall way short. And so our work ethic, our talk among our team, our everything that we do, we're going in to win the WCC, and then we're going in to win the Big 12.
Gordon, the way you described the teams in the league, people have been asking us, well, in football, how's the Big 12? And we say, well, the SEC is obviously the best conference in the country, and then probably the Big 10, but the Big 12 would be the next one, especially this last year. But when we talk about men's basketball, we go, oh, for 12 straight years, it's clearly the best basketball conference in the country, and it's not close. Where would you rank this conference in softball? The way you just described it, I would think it's one of the top 2 in the country.
Yeah, I think it is. If you look top to bottom, it's probably the SEC in softball. If you look from 1 through, I think they have 14 teams in softball. But Oklahoma is a perennial national champion from the Big 12. Texas, played for the national championship last year. Baylor's been in the College World Series in the last 5 years. Oklahoma State's been in the College World Series the last 3 years. UCF was a Final 16. So I would rival the top end of the Big 12 with the SEC, top end of the SEC, but then it dips a little bit as you go to the lower end of the Big 12. But I think it's the second best softball conference in the country currently.
And isn't it to your advantage then? You've got to play perfect in the WCC. Just like the basketball team or football team, as you go into the Big 12, you don't have to win all your games to get a good tournament seeding.
Right. Absolutely. There are Power 5 schools in the Big 12, in the SEC, in the Pac-12 that are playing 500 ball, and they're getting in the tournament. So,
and a decent seed.
You don't have to win 95% of your games like we do right now to get in. You just have to be, your strength of schedule is already built in. You just have to stay above 500, but that's not good enough for us. We're not talking about being a 500 team. We're talking about, we can play 56. We're talking about winning 56 games. And then if the ball bounces bad for us once or twice, we'll live with that.
Hey, you've got a lot of returning talent on this year's team, including Violet Savodnik, who is making her case as the best player in program history, and that's saying something. What do you expect from Violet this season?
Violet's had 2 great years, hitting over 400 both years. Last year, 19 home runs. I thought she should have been an All-American, but she's playing. She was hurt in the fall, but she's healthy now, had a really good January, playing well, and we expect her to be one of our offensive leaders. But we're not a one pony team. We are tough from top to bottom in our lineup this year like we've never been before. In fact, I think we have 13 players that could be in the starting lineup of 9 hitters, and we're having a tough time deciding which 9 of those 13 to play.
Good problem.
That's a good problem.
I haven't had that great problem in my 22 years here.
Really? This is the deepest team you've had?
That's pretty awesome.
So
It is.
Violet's D1 softball ranks Violet the 28th best player in the country. Is that about right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's about the proper ranking right now, and probably based on the league that we're in and what they get to see her do in the WCC versus the 27 players above her playing in P5 conferences. So I think that's about right, but she can compete with anybody in the country talent-wise.
You talk about how deep this team is. one of our viewers, listeners, Linda Murray, she's saying softball will be so much better in the Big 12. But then she says, with the better teams and the better scheduling and all of that, have you noticed already a recruiting benefit? And do you think in the long term your recruiting will be benefited where you'll be able to get higher level players and be even deeper than you are right now?
Absolutely. The day it was announced that we were going to the Big 12, we got a recruiting bump right then, because then the big time travel ball teams that I would have to work to talk to them before on the phone are now calling me, starting that day that it was announced that we were going to the Big 12. So we've already got that big jump going into the Big 12. We've got this year's freshman class was off the charts. We got great transfers in the summertime and 3 transfers at the break. They're big time players, and we expect that to just continue to get better and better and better.
Chloe Temple's, the left-handed pitcher, was spectacular last year, playing in the shadow of Autumn Moffett Court. Finished second in the league with 140 strikeouts, set the program record with 15 Ks against St. Mary's. What do you need out of Chloe this season?
Well, we need her to be a 20-plus game winner.
Okay.
And she's capable of doing that. Autumn was such a workhorse that I wouldn't say Chloe took a backseat to Autumn, but Autumn pitched more games than Chloe did this year. Chloe will be Chloe is definitely our ace, and we're going to need her to be everything she's capable of being for us to be the type of team that we think we are.
The season starts with 17 consecutive road games. That's the problem when you are in a northern cold weather place, right? But you have games against North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Maryland and Mexico. The home opener is March 15th against Utah on BYU TV. How do you feel about the schedule as you go into it?
I think our schedule is challenging. In week 2, we play 2 top 15 teams in Arizona State and Oregon State. And we have UCLA coming here that's ranked second in the country right now. We have Stanford coming here that was a super regional team. We have a strong and challenging schedule, but we've always tried to do that, because if you're going to be the best or be capable to compete against the best, you got to play them. So I like our schedule. I sometimes even wished it was a little bit more difficult, carrying that chip on our shoulder from not having our RPI high enough last year. But when you go to tournaments, you don't always have a choice of who you get to play. They pick who you play. And then when we go into our conference, that last month and a half, we're pretty limited on what we can do opponent-wise.
Couple more questions for BYU softball coach Gordon Eakin on the Wise Guys tonight. Now let's go back to 2000. You've got to convince your wife, Barbie, that leaving the auto business to take an assistant coaching job at BYU was the right thing to do. It was a leap of faith for sure, but looking back, how much have the two of you enjoyed this ride?
It's been, I haven't worked a day in my life since. Had some stress issues with money early on when I was a young coach, but BYU has taken care of me pretty well over the years. And my wife, Barbie, she's the real coach, because when I come home, she tells me exactly what I should do. But I think it's just been a dream life for both of us, not only because we love the sport, we love BYU, but we love these girls, and our whole life revolves around it, and it's just been magical.
Hey, we wanted to mention superfan Stephen K. Sampson, who passed away earlier this month at 45 years of age. He had a number of health challenges in his life, but it didn't keep him from being an honorary motivational coach for the Cougars. What impact did he have on you and the team?
Well, he kind of adopted us back when he lived in Las Vegas and we were in the Mountain West and would go down and play in UNLV's tournament. And he was a member of the church. And so after he'd come up to me in his UNLV shirt and say, "Can I talk to your girls?" And when he had cerebral palsy, and so he'd come up on a walker, and I just didn't know what to think. And the first time I let him talk to the girls, it was never about Steve and what Steve has to go through in his life. It was always about the players and about how good they are. And I mean, to be around him and listen to him talk, you couldn't help but be grateful for all the many blessings that you had. And so for all those years, he just grounded you. He just let you know that you have so many things to be grateful and thankful for. And if he could do it, then maybe we needed to take time to smell the roses, not just look at all the bad things that went on.
Yeah. It's good to have those influences around, isn't it? Because it's really easy, especially for our young athletes, to get swallowed up in, I have everything taken care of for me.
Yeah, I mean, life in general, it's kind of easy to go on our own personal pity parties, and we just never really think about what other people go through. And I think we could all be reflective and think of what we should be grateful for instead of always dwelling on what's going wrong.
Yeah. Good advice.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
All right, Coach, we have 5 quick questions for you, and then we'll let you get on with your night. We sure appreciate you taking some time to be on with us live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and ysguys.com. The podcast will be out tomorrow, so a lot of folks will get a chance to visit with you, hear from you, and get ready for this softball season. We all wish it was warmer because then it would feel like we're getting closer to softball.
And when it is warm, that venue, if that's not the most scenic venue in all of college softball and all of college baseball, I don't know what is. What a tremendous ballpark that BYU has for softball and baseball. Is it the best in the country in terms of scenic, Gordon?
Probably, yeah. And it's a really nice facility as well. So we're pretty blessed, and we are grateful for it. And we certainly look forward to both of you coming out to the games when we're at home.
We'll be there.
Heck yeah, I'm going to even call some.
Dave's going to call some this year. I got to come support my guy, too.
There you go.
Support you guys for sure. So, no, we love it. I love a beautiful day to be out there and watching. High level, too, by the way. Some of the best softball in all of the country. So Coach, we do this 5 questions with everybody, just 5 quick questions. We throw them out. You don't even think about it. You just, first thing that comes to your mind.
That's dangerous.
This is how we get to know people. So I don't want you to be thoughtful about it. I just want you to just blurt it out.
And just know that we will judge you for your answers.
Yes, we will.
But just
Well, I just want you to know, if I answer wrong, my wife's sitting here with me, and if I give you an answer that's wrong, it's because she told me to say.
Wait, where's Barbie? Bring her on, and we can see her
right.
facial expressions when you answer these. And by the way, you said your wife tells you what to do. Join the club, because Dave and
you're not alone.
And you probably, like us, outkicked your coverage in a big way. We realized that somehow.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you do it the right way, that's how you're married for 38 years.
Exactly. Yeah. The kids just asked me the other day how we've been together nearly 40 years, and I said, Mom. Yes. This is a one-word answer, Mom.
Yeah.
That's the key. So. Well, we appreciate you guys. You've been you and your wife have been a phenomenal example for the players that have come through this program and a lot of others. So here we go.
Thank you.
5 questions for Coach. Favorite sports movie?
The Natural.
Nice.
Oh, that's Robert Redford, right?
Yeah, great soundtrack.
Yeah, and nobody said that one yet. So favorite singer or band?
Oh, geez. Talk radio.
Talk radio.
What kind of band is talk radio?
I don't listen to music. I listen to talk radio. I guess if I had to,
gotta pick one.
If I had to pick a singer, I like Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks. There you go.
Have you ever heard Garth's song? Here's Your Mom.
Yeah,
that song.
A good one.
Oh man, I love that song.
I'm glad you fixed that to Garth, because when we were talking, and you can read a whole lot more about Coach Eakin if you go to Deseret.com and just search Gordon Eakin, and the story will come up that we worked on last summer. And it was at a dance. You had to go to a dance to meet your wife anyway, so there has to be a musical background.
There's some music in your background. So
and she likes country too, so we're on the same page.
You didn't go to a dance and listen to talk radio. So all right, so we got Garth there.
See, my wife loves Tim McGraw, but I don't think it's because he's such a great singer. I think she thinks he's the handsomest man in the world. So
probably right.
So favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh, Frosted Flakes.
That's a great. I had Frosted Flakes this morning.
Now we're talking.
Nice.
Now we're talking. That's a good one. Favorite moment at Gale Miller Field?
Beating Utah 2 years ago with those back-to-back home runs.
Yes, that's ours too. That's our favorite for you guys as well.
All right, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Or let me, I don't want to take too much of your time, or after the game when my grandson gets to come, or my grandkids get to come down on the field and run around. That's another favorite moment.
Anytime that happens is awesome, isn't it?
That's great.
So that's great. Okay, this one, we're real anxious to hear this. The favorite advice that you ever got from the late Larry H. Miller?
Well, there are so many of them, but if I put it into the context of being a head coach, I worked for Larry, and he taught me to surround myself with 5 key people at the time. It was in the car business. Surround myself with 5 key people, and then give them autonomy to do their job. And so as a coach, I've always realized that I can't just dictate everything that happens. I have to hire the right people and trust them to bring their assets to the field. And that's what I've tried to do.
Sound advice, words to live by for sure.
Chad Lewis always tells us, surround yourself with greatness, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Larry Miller would agree with that.
Coach, good luck. We'll see you when you get back from your 17-game road swing. But we're happy that it starts in warm Mexico for you here in just 2 weeks. That's February. What is it? February 9th, I think, right? It's the first game?
Yeah, February 9th.
Man, that's like 9 days from now.
There's some great zip lines down in Puerto Vallarta that Brenda and I have been on. So I highly recommend those if you're a thrill seeker.
Hey, congratulations.
All the games will be live streamed on Flow Softball down there. That's an American
We were
company.
just going to ask that. Yeah. So how do they find that? Is there a site that they can?
It's FLO Softball, and they can just, Google that, and then it's a service you got to sign up for, but I think it's pretty affordable, and they do a lot of softball throughout the country. They'll do our tournament in Palm Springs as well. So it's probably worth it.
Flow Softball.
So we just posted it out there, Flow Softball, for everybody to see. So we'll tune in and invite all of our folks out there around the world to tune in and support our Cougar softball team.
Hey, we salute you on 765. We wish you many more, starting with North Carolina, and we'll see you at the ballpark throughout the spring. Proud of you, proud of the way you represent BYU and all that you do, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, and the great job both of you do for BYU.
Thanks, Gordon.
Gordon Eakin getting ready for another season, his 21st as the head coach, BYU softball.
700. I mean, every time I say it, it's astonishing. 765 wins is really something special.
And when we asked him his favorite, he right there, Utah game, and then the one in the tournament. They got a great program going over there.
So good. So
our next guests on this historic day for BYU sports. As the Big 12 has announced the Cougars' first P5 schedule, let's bring in BYU TV football analyst and co-host of After Further Review and everything else we do over there, David Nixon. Nixon, thank you for joining the Wise Guys. You've had all day now to think about this Big 12 schedule. What are your initial thoughts?
I absolutely love it. I mean, this is what we've been all been waiting for. This is like the absolute top of everything we've been waiting for the schedule to come out, and I couldn't be more excited to see it be unveiled. And I actually talked to a couple players on the team, and I think they're in the same boat as we are. I think a lot of these players are shocked because when someone committed and went on missions, they didn't know that this day would come. And here they are, that they're staying here, and the schedule comes out, and they know this year they're going to be facing all these Big 12 opponents. And so I think the players, fans, coaches, everybody's in the same boat where everybody's just ecstatic. And this is what you've been waiting for over a decade. Think about it. Since the Mountain West Conference and since BYU Independent, you've been waiting for over a decade for this moment to arrive. Maybe more than decades. I mean, I'm just saying as an independent. I mean, you go back to how long BYU's been trying to get a P5, the whole history of BYU, and finally it's here.
Yeah, even in the WAC, we were fighting for respect, it seemed.
Yep. And Dave, let's think about this. You were in the Mountain West your whole time. You weren't part of Independence, were you?
That was not, 2008 was my last year, so Mountain West. Yep.
Yeah, and you had TCU in the league with you in the Mountain West, who was a nationally recognized and nationally ranked team. BYU at the time, you were nationally ranked. Utah was really, really good at the time, but this league is a whole different level of competition. When I was looking at this schedule, my eyes went right down to November. I'm anxious to hear what your reaction was to the month of November, where BYU's had such difficulty scheduling big-time games.
Guys, we've been in that same boat together where we're covering Idaho States and SUUs. I mean, we've had to endure those long Novembers, and now you're slammed with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. I mean, throwing Iowa State, West Virginia. I mean, it's music to our ears. There's relevant games in November, and for me, that's the biggest thing is for a player. You know, during Independence, it was so top heavy, right? I mean, BYU faced all the P5s usually at the beginning of the season, and at the end of the season, it was almost like the season was over with. But now you've got a conference title you're going to be vying for the entire season, and it gets the stakes, especially with this schedule how it laid out. The stakes get higher even that month of November. I think that's when you're going to see if BYU's in the hunt or not. And they're going to have to come up and play some of those big boys and show that they're worthy of being in the Big 12.
I like the bye week where it sits October 7th as we look at the schedule here. And you get 2 weeks to prepare for TCU, the runner-ups to the college football playoff champion, Georgia Bulldogs. 2 weeks, that's almost a little gift from the Big 12 to get ready to go down to Fort Worth, isn't it?
Yeah, that was actually, it's funny, Blaine said he went straight to November to see the games. My actually first thought was I went through week by week to see when BYU's bye week was. Because I think that's been the biggest problem at BYU, is especially during Independence as well, is that they don't get a bye week until super far and late in the season, that they were so beat up that by then it didn't matter because they dropped some games because of injuries. I love where this bye week is after week 5. And to your point, before you go on the road to TCU, which is going to be a battle, no doubt. In fact, you get an extra day because Cincinnati's on a Friday night. Yeah. And so that helps as well. But I love that bye week. I think that's perfect where it needs to be, because you kind of get your feet wet with the Big 12. And then you head on the road to the, technically not the defending Big 12 champs. That goes to Kansas State. But the best team, I would say, in the Big 12, you go on the road to play them. So much needed break right there before you head on the road.
And I'm weird. So one of the other things that I looked at, Dave, was, well, who do they not play? And so they don't play Baylor, they don't play Kansas State, they don't play Central Florida, and they don't play Houston. So they don't play 2 of the new 3 that they could play. They only play Cincinnati's the only new team they play. But Baylor's kind of become a natural rival. I was actually disappointed to not see Baylor on the schedule, because I think BYU would fare well against Baylor next week, knowing who has who back. But any thoughts on the teams they don't play? Were you disappointed that Baylor or K-State or Central Florida or Houston weren't on that schedule?
I would have loved to have seen Houston. I think they're kind of been down recently, and I think BYU matches up well with them too, obviously with the history that's been there. I was bummed to see Baylor not on there, but frankly, I think it's kind of nice given how they came and stole a lot of our recruits, our offensive linemen specifically, our players. And so part of me is like, maybe we should just let that simmer and just kind of let them be for a little bit. But Houston, UCF, I mean, obviously, I think everyone would love to play those guys just because they're in the same boat as we are. This is their first year. There's a lot of unknowns for them. They're kind of going in there with deer like in the headlights with their eyes wide open. And so it'd be nice to play some of those guys where they're not so used to the Big 12 grind. But you pick off one of them with Cincinnati. But I think the schedule played out obviously really well. I love the fact that BYU was able to play Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, that's exactly what you want.
We talked about that a lot during the season, you and I and Dave, when we were sitting in the green room and dreaming, and we were saying, we just want to see could they possibly get Texas and Oklahoma? And this may be the only year they're both in the league. Right. And so they're going to get them both at Texas, where they've played before, and Oklahoma coming in November. And I'm reminded that Oklahoma finished 6 and 7 last year. But I tell people, don't expect Oklahoma to be down more than last year. You had the coach leave. He took 19 transfers with him. Brett Venables comes in. He's got Dylan Gabriel back at quarterback. I just can't see Oklahoma not being in the top 3 in that league again next year after a 1-year hiatus. What's your thought on Oklahoma?
I totally agree. I mean, you give Venables 1 year to go out and recruit and bring in his own transfers and his own players. And I think they restock and reload. To your point, a lot of those guys left to go to USC, and that's tough to fill in those boys that were left behind, including All-American quarterback. And so I'm with you. I think they were kind of caught on their heels a little bit with the whole transfer portal. But I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and reload this year and are off to the races. A program like Oklahoma, one of the winningest programs in the history of college football, is not going to stay down for too long. I think they'll find a way to rebound. And the fact that BYU gets that at home on senior night
in November,
in the winter,
amazing.
Altitude,
in the winter.
it's awesome.
Dave's got a conspiracy theory. He's like, you know what, Oklahoma? Going to the SEC? Great. You're going to go play at elevation in the snow on November 8th at BYU. Good luck.
I just wish they would have put Texas in there too in November.
That would have been awesome.
Have both come up to altitude and snow.
That would have been too much.
That would have been the epic.
That would have been too much. I love that they're going to Austin just because, and it'll be fun to reunite with Steve Sarkisian and take on that. And of course, before each game, we've got our 2-hour game day pregame shows on BYU TV, which are going to be a lot of fun, and then the live postgame shows that follow. But let's take a moment and play the game everyone likes to play. DJ will put the schedule back up. Let's count the wins.
Oh, baby, here we go.
All right, so
are we going to go game by game and we all go win or lose?
Let's go game by game where we go win or lose. You ready? You ready, Nix?
Let's do this.
Can we just go win to start?
Hey, let me make a note. So Sam Houston State. I grew up 45 minutes away from Sam Houston State, and that's in Huntsville, Texas. They're one of those teams where they get a lot of the cast-offs, kids who couldn't qualify for D1 or had some issues going on. That's a team you can't sleep on. They're going to have athletes all over the field. They won the FCS just a couple of years ago. I mean, they're going to be capable. Does BYU win that? I think yes, but I think it's going to be a closer game than most people think.
So we're going to go with a win on that one.
Three wins.
It's their first year at D1 in Conference USA, so they got a lot on their plate, Sam Houston. But they come to Provo and take on Slovis and the guys. So
elevation, they're going to be gasping.
we're going to go win-win out of the gate, right?
Yeah,
Sam Houston and Southern Utah. Okay, now the goal, before we move on, the goal is 6.
I say
6 to 7.
I say
which
7.
Which gets you in the Cheez-It Bowl for $6 million. So,
yeah, exactly.
So that's what we're playing for you. All right, BYU at Arkansas on September 16th. Do they have their quarterback back?
I think they do, and it scares me. So I'm going to say lose on the road at Arkansas.
I'm going to go with a loss there. What do you got?
I'll side with you guys on that one. I think that's going to be a tough road game. SEC on the road. And just keep in mind, 1st of September is going to be hot, muggy. That's a tough one.
Okay, so September 23rd, they go to Kansas in the Big 12 opener. Now, these Jayhawks are better than they've been in a long, long time. They're going to see BYU as sweet. We can get off to a 1-0 start by winning at home. What about Kansas?
I feel like Kansas, 2 wins 2 years ago. They're on a roll. They're at 6-7 last year. They got their quarterback back, Jalen Daniels. I still think BYU beats them on the road in their Big 12 opener.
I think so too. I think this Kansas team, they had a hot streak to begin the year this year, and then they kind of faltered off at the end. I think BYU gets this one on the road.
All right, so we're 3-1 going into the Big 12 home opener, which is Friday night against Cincinnati. They got a brand new coach. I like BYU's chances in that.
BYU doesn't lose at night. Haven't we established that, Nix? They don't lose at night.
It's facts at this point.
Cincinnati's won 9 or more games for 5 straight years. But new coach and a bunch of transfers that he's got to meld into this thing. On the road at night in Provo, I think BYU starts off 4-1.
4-1, sound good?
I like that call. Scott Satterfield, new head coach. I think it's going to take some time for him to get his team to gel. I like that win. I think BYU comes out the win on that one.
All right, so the Cougars are 4-1 coming out of September. And I when I saw the schedule earlier today and I studied it, and it's kind of set up for a decent start for BYU.
Yeah, and
because then you got a bye in October, so now you're not even going to TCU till the second week of October.
You go into October at 2-1 with 2 weeks, or 4-1 with 2 weeks to prepare for TCU. I love the schedule.
Yeah, 2-0 in the Big 12. You're riding high. You got some confidence, right?
You're ranked now.
You're probably ranked. All right. Well, then comes TCU. They're probably going to be ranked. If they haven't been beaten before, then they'll be in the top 7.
Yeah, most of the things I've been reading the way too earlys are have them either number 1 or number 2. Some have Texas number 1 with what they've got coming back. They do lose Max Dugan.
They do lose their top running back, Miller. He's gone. Their top
and
wide
their quarterback
receiver,
was everything to
right?
them.
And when think about that, the Johnson kid that didn't play at wide receiver in the bowl against Georgia in the championship game, he was lights out. So they lose their best running back, their best wide receiver, and this quarterback that's been phenomenal for 4 years. With all of that, I still think they have so much team speed on the road. That's a tough one for BYU. I'm going to put them as a loss.
I would like to see the 06 BYU team show up in the game.
Yes.
But I'm worried that the 08 team shows up in that game.
And Dave speaks from experience.
I was on both of those. At 08, the speed just overwhelmed us. 06, we were able to hang with them, but 08, they were just so fast. I fear that might be the same case in this game.
Yeah, I think there's a gulf. I mean, this is a team that handled Michigan. They got pounded by Georgia, but we kind of figured that was coming.
Everybody did.
But look what they did, and that's the game everyone wants to be in. That's the game BYU longs to be in, and they got in last year, so they got to be. I'm going with a loss on that one.
Yeah. So that now we got them
a respectful loss.
We've got them 4-2. So then Texas Tech comes up to BYU on October 21st. What's your thought? Does another Texas team, your home state, Nix? What do you think?
I think BYU, Texas Tech, I feel like is the same talent level as BYU, honestly. I mean, Texas Tech is going to be a little bit stepped down from your UTs and your Texas A&Ms in the state of Texas. And so I think from a talent perspective, I think BYU can match up with Texas Tech. I think this is a toss-up, and the fact that it's at home, I think I give BYU the nod in this one.
I agree.
I'm with you. They won their last 4 last season, but I think you get them up in Provo and you grow the grass long and you slow that team down a little bit, and BYU can be way more aggressive defensively and knock the quarterback around a little bit. Yeah, I think BYU goes to 5-2 on October 21st.
Okay, so the last game of the month, by the way, late October in Austin is awesome. Weather is just the best time of year to be in Texas.
Let's just know right now that the three of us are going to lobby so hard that the show goes on the road. Texas had worked with us in the past. The show goes on the road for game day to Texas for that game on October 28th.
I'll use air miles. I'll just pay my own way.
Can you air miles all of us?
Yeah, all of us. I got air miles for all you guys. We're good.
Okay, we're recording this, so that's done. Yep. All right, so we got the Longhorns on the 28th. Now, a lot of time has taken place since your brother-in-law went down there and ran all over them for the second straight season, speaking of Taysom Hill. But I think the Longhorn fans certainly will remember it. The players won't care. They're pampered and elitist and the best. You know, there'll be more stars on the field than up in the sky that night when Texas comes out of the locker room. But how does this one shake down?
I'm going to let Nix go first.
I'll tell you what, this game's intriguing because now you're getting to the grind of the schedule, right? And this is where we all worry about BYU, and this is where the team up north here in the state has struggled when they first entered into the Pac-12. Is that depth, and can your depth hold up? And what is your injury situation like on the team? And so for me, there's a lot of question marks around this game. If BYU still has a healthy starting 22 in this game, I think they have a fantastic shot. If you're now dipping into second, third stringers, Texas, with all that talent, it'd be a tough game on the road. You know,
and Texas has got to run through their gauntlet as well. So you don't know who's going to be standing.
Right. It depends on health.
For the Longhorns coming into that. I'd like to call that a toss-up.
The problem is Texas has most of their two deep back, and I always look at, like, do you have quarterback back? They got both back. So they got Quinn. I don't know if it's Ewers or is it Evers?
Ewers.
Ewers, yeah. He's back. Arch Manning was the backup last year. Does he take the job away from him? So they've got two really talented quarterbacks.
There'll be a lot of pressure on Sark.
Most of their two deep back. Some folks are projecting them to win the Big 12 next year. If they're not in the top two, there's going to be a ton of pressure on Sark. If they're healthy, then I'm putting this down as a Texas win, and I have BYU at 5-3 at that point.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with that as well. Although that could be a swing game. We have a thing with Texas.
It could be a swing game. Yeah. We're all up in their heads. It's like, you're not going to get in my head. No, we're already in your head, Texas.
Hey, Nix, when does Taysom find out if the Saints are on a bye week that week?
That's a good question. Whenever their schedule comes out, which I think comes out in the next couple of months for the NFL too. So yeah, we need him there.
He's got to run that flag.
If he runs the flag out, it's a BYU victory because they will be paralyzed in fear at that point.
And if he does run the flag out, we need him to do his leap as he runs out.
I know.
Right into 15. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll do that. We'll have to ask him. Well, we're going to get him on this show. I sent him an email. We'll see if we can get him on the show in March sometime and talk about that.
So now we go into November, right?
So we're into November. We're going to assume that we're still together.
We have them at 5-3 in November through October. That's pretty awesome.
And 5-3's got you just outside the top 25, depending on what's going on.
Right.
And then a road trip to West Virginia. I don't like that. It's a long ways away. West Virginia, I can see West Virginia getting some points in that one.
But West Virginia hasn't had a winning record since Neil Brown became the head coach. This is if they don't have a winning record this year, I don't know that he keeps his job.
Yeah.
I think the big question mark, I already talked about health, but coming off Texas, which is going to be a really physical game, you wonder if there's some attrition there. But to your point, Blaine, I mean, West Virginia last year was 5-7 and 3-6 in conference, so they haven't been stellar as of lately. I think this is where BYU gets their bowl eligible game. Yep. I think this is where they get their 6th win.
I'm with you. Everybody's picking West Virginia last in the conference.
Yeah.
So I got BYU going to 6-3 on November 4th and being bowl eligible. Thank goodness.
Well, now things get a little tricky because Iowa State comes to town, and if you're 6-3 and you're coming home for a home game, are you thinking BYU will be 7-3 after 10 games?
This one to me is the swing game. Like you said, the Texas one was. So Iowa State was 4-8 last year. Hunter Deckers is back at quarterback. They had flashes of brilliance. This is a team that before last year was perennial in the top 20 for the previous 2 or 3 years. I think that they're better than they were last year, better than the 4-8. But I think at home, it's a swing game. It could go either way, but I think BYU gets a home win and they go to 7-3.
I like BYU at home.
I like the optimism. Matt Campbell is a fantastic coach.
Yes.
I don't know if we're pressing our luck too much with the fact that we called a W against West Virginia the week before. Are we asking for too much with back-to-back wins?
It feels like we might be asking for a lot.
We might be asking for too much. Because I'm a conservative guy.
So
I might mark that one down as a loss.
So you're going to go 6-4.
Would you say BYU has a better chance to win on the road at West Virginia or at home against Iowa State?
I would say and remember, Iowa State was 4-8 last year too. Like they did not have a tremendous season, but everybody's got Iowa State back up in that top 8 or 9 in the league, where everybody still has West Virginia dead last. I'm just talking about the way too early. I've looked at 3 different folks that have covered the Big 12 and the way too early projections. Everybody's got West Virginia last.
And listen, Matt Campbell, as I mentioned, great coach. In 2020, they went 9-3 and a win over Oregon the Fiesta Bowl. So he's a fantastic coach. I think he's going to be in the same boat as Venables at Oklahoma, where he's going to turn it around.
Yeah. So you're saying they win at West Virginia, but they lose with Iowa State at home. So
that's my take.
So Nick's has them 6-4. I'm going to still say they're going to squeak one out, and I say they're going to be 7-3.
I've got them 6-4, but I think they lose at West Virginia and beat Iowa State.
They come home and beat Iowa State.
Because I don't see them losing back-to-back home games.
No.
And Oklahoma's next. And if we're on the pace that you've got us on at 7-3, we're now ranked 16th, and now there's talk of us making the championship game.
Right.
Because you got to beat Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
But then I have them losing both of those games.
so you got the Sooners coming in. What if it's a blizzard? Does it matter?
That changes everything. Yeah, it does. The fact that Oklahoma was 6-7 last year is irrelevant to me at this point. I think they're just so hard to defend and so good offensively. But you're right. The great equalizer could be November 18th, sideways snow, and 21 degrees is what I'm hoping for. And then BYU has a chance.
Then they're coming to Provo. They don't want to be here. They're leaving the league. If they haven't had a great season up to that point, then they may not even care.
Everything's different, right?
Because, they got the Red River Showdown. They got some big games before that define them.
Everything changes.
Listen, if this winter is any indicator of next winter, those guys are hosed. It's going to be 10 feet of snow on the football field. So it's an automatic W. No, that game's intriguing to me too. I love, listen, BYU in this history, talk about the history with Oklahoma. BYU's 2-0 against the Sooners. Why not go 3-0 and ride high? I mean, I think BYU's got to find a way to split between Texas and Oklahoma. I actually think BYU comes out to win in that game.
All right.
So
It's senior night, last game of the season. Defend LaBelle's house.
It's got to be. You got to figure it's going to be in the ESPN late window.
So Dave and I, although they're different, and you're even different too. Nix and I both have them at 7-4 after the Oklahoma game.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
that's where I got.
I'd be thrilled with that. So
okay, so then, so it's Thanksgiving weekend, and now we go to Stillwater, and the big question is if BYU 7-4, we're in the mix,
right?
Did 12 teams go to the playoff, or is that the following year?
That's the following year.
Okay, so we're in the mix all of a sudden,
yes.
but Oklahoma State's probably going to be in the mix too.
But here's the thing about Oklahoma State: huge transfer losses.
Yeah.
Like, why? Nobody can understand it. And Gundy was complaining that people were tampering and all that. But he lost Spencer Sanders, his starting quarterback. He lost their top running back and 3 of their top 5 wide receivers to the transfer portal in the offseason. Like, what's going on in Oklahoma State?
Well, it's a team that, if you recall, was in the top 10 for the beginning of the season, and they ended up finishing with a 4-5 conference record.
I mean, they're still good,
yeah.
but they're not. Like, they're not invincible. You lose your top running back, your top quarterback, and 3 of your top 5 receivers. That's a big deal. So, and I haven't heard of a big transfer portal guy. It's not like they got Keaton Slovis coming to town or anything.
Here's the thing: we finished last season with all of our linebackers heading for surgery. We started we had 11 different guys out for the bowl game.
Everything changes based on health. Because remember, in 1996, at the end of the year, I felt like BYU could play with anybody. But guess what? They started the same corners every single game that year. I think they may have started the entire same defense the entire year for 13 games, right? They play 13 that year, 14-1, 15 games.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't get anybody hurt. You have to have a little bit of luck. If BYU gets nobody hurt this whole season like they did in 96, it could be magical. They could win 8 or 9 games, right, and be competing. If they're devastated like they were the last 2 years down the stretch, then they could lose every game in November.
And they might, the depth is going to get better and better and better. But for the first year, the depth it's got to be better than last year because it can't really be worse. But it's not going to be, the reality is it'll be our first year in the league, so we can't have 5-year depth.
So I've got them 7-5.
7-5. That feels right.
And going to the Cheez-It Bowl, and guess what? I'm pumped about that.
Yeah, 7-5. And you look at the wins that we're projecting, and those are some fun days, and some losses against teams that are going to be favored, ranked ahead of us, at some point you got to take your licks as the new kid on the block, and so. We got Texas beating BYU. We have Oklahoma State beating BYU, but those are road games for the Cougars. TCU is a road game for the Cougars. I think on the road it's going to be tough. That's why I think they get beat by West Virginia, but come back and beat Iowa State. But either one.
We all have them with wins against Kansas and against Cincinnati and against Texas Tech. And then we differ on whether we think West Virginia or Iowa State. I've got them beating Iowa State. You guys have them beating West Virginia. I've got them beating both of those teams. And you guys have them one or the other, but then you have them winning either Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. I have them losing both of those. I would not be surprised with the losses to Oklahoma State for BYU to go on the road if they're healthy and get an 8th win for me. So, but I'm also not going to be surprised if they're hurt down the stretch and they win 6. I do think they get to 6 and get bowl eligible.
It'd be interesting if you're 7. What would we be in league? We're playing 9 league games, 6-3, right? Are we saying 6-3 in league? Because we figured Arkansas is a loss. Oh wait, maybe 5-4, 5-4 in league.
4, yeah.
That sounds about right. 5-4 in league, which would be we've won our home games.
If you're over 500 in the league, you're going bowling to
Kansas.
a nice bowl. Yeah.
And then you got to say, well, if you look back at this last year, because all those other teams are going to beat on each other,
right?
And Iowa State could have 4 or 5 losses. You just look. No one's going to run through there. Although TCU went 9-0 last year, but their quarterback's gone. They're not going 9-0. They're going to be good, but they're not going 9-0 in the league.
Right. I agree with you on that.
So, gosh, it's almost like we kind of figured once they signed Slovis that they'd be in the middle. Maybe this puts them like one spot above.
Yeah, and remember, TCU was really good last year because they just outscored everybody.
Yeah.
When they finally played Georgia, who played some defense, that was a struggle. And keep in mind, their quarterback, their running back, and their best wide receiver are all gone from that explosive team offensively. Now, they got a lot of weapons, don't get me wrong. But Dugan's a special player.
So we're in agreement, 7-5?
I'm saying 7-5. We'll take
The
it.
question is, when does BYU get 5 home games versus only the 4 they got this year?
Probably the next year. Yeah, probably the next year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Flip-flop every year? I mean, this year they got the short end of the stick, but hopefully next year they get an extra home game.
Next year they play 2 road games in the non-conference.
Right.
Wyoming and Utah, right?
Right. So
then 5, that would give them a 6-game home schedule, which so maybe they're banking on that. Maybe it's just going to always just flip-flop.
Yep. So.
And then who knows who's and then it'll simplify obviously with 2 teams out.
Yeah, when Texas and Oklahoma go out, it's a lot easier.
It's exciting that we're having this conversation tonight. We've never been able to have one like this.
I'm telling you, I alluded to it earlier in the show that I had a chance to talk to some current players, defensive players in particular, and they were they were just pumped about the schedule. But it was fun to talk to them about this defensive staff as well. These guys are over the moon with this new defensive staff. This defensive staff is very engaged. They're in there with them while they're working out. They're talking scheme. They're watching film with them. There's just a lot of interaction with this defensive staff, and it's fun to hear them converse back and forth, and the methodologies of we got to get more pressure, we got to find ways to disrupt the quarterback, break down the pocket. I mean, this is going to be a really fun defense to watch this year. And I started thinking about it. I go, this is kind of similar situation that I had when Bronco came in and kind of changed from the Ken Schmidt defense, and Bronco brought in a 3-3-5 where he just wanted to blitz the quarterback and create disruption and chaos. And as a player, you love to play in those schemes because you want to get after the quarterback. That's the ultimate goal, right? And I feel like that's what this defensive staff with Jay Hill leading the charge is what they're focused on. And the players are responding to it. I think they're juiced and amped and ready. It's going to be a really fun offseason, a great spring ball. And then you have now the schedule to get you pumped as well. Man, what a fun time to be a current player, and what a fun time to be a fan, obviously.
It's going to be. And we had Jay Hill on the show.
Kelly Papinga's next week.
Yeah, and we got Kelly next week. I love the thing that I loved about having Jay on was he's like, yeah, we want to get after people. But he realizes you don't get after Texas Tech, right? Because if you bring 10 against Texas Tech, they're going to throw for 700 yards on you, right? So their basic philosophy is nobody's going to run the ball on us, and we're going to pressure like crazy. But we're also going to have some packages in there. When we play an air raid team, we're going to be smart enough to not do what Utah did, that one year against USC where they're like, oh, we're going to blitz them and play man-to-man on their ridiculous wide receivers, and USC's just going to throw it over the top of them all game long. So I feel like he gets it. I just feel like he gets it, and he's bringing an intensity that's going to be really, really good for this defense.
To your point, you can't blitz all game long. And I think the players are responding as well. They're going to know that it's all situational. Like
right.
You can't get after the quarterback every single play. But the fact that they understand, I think that from what I took away from those conversations were that the players and the coaching staff are on the same page.
Yep.
And I think that, like I said, I think the coaching staff has showed more interest, which naturally is going to happen when we have a new coaching staff, right? I mean, everybody's juiced and ready to jump in together. And I think that this couldn't be better timing for the staff to come in than right now as you're
going to the new league,
your first season.
And it's interesting because we're in this kind of a thing here where today's a big rush because of the schedule. Tomorrow's signing day, and I have a feeling that there's going to be another momentum push here as BYU's getting guys that they weren't able to get before being in the Big 12.
Right.
And so then we've got that push. And then Andy Reid's getting ready for the Super Bowl. So there's that thing. And then before we even get to that, we got Puka Nacua making noise at the Senior Bowl, Jaron Hall, Blake Freeland. They'll all be playing on Saturday. This is for the end of January, start of February. This is a football-heavy time.
Yes,
and all of it's pretty good news.
It's all good stuff.
Just need to spread the news out a little bit more. We need some of this in February, March, whenever we're just really coming down.
No, at least we have basketball through March. we really need this in April, May, and June.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so
But that's when the weather's nice. We're on vacation.
That's
we're
true. We won't worry about it then.
That can wait.
Tomorrow, signing day, coverage is at noon Eastern, 10 Mountain on BYU TV. Head coach Kalani Satake and athletic director Tom Holmoe will join Spencer and Jerem, and they'll break it all down and get a lot of comments on this schedule as well. Aiden Robbins had wrist surgery since we were last together. What does that mean for spring ball for the 6'3", 230-pound running back?
Probably no contact in spring ball. But here's the thing about Aiden Robbins. He needs reps to understand the timing in the offense and needs to understand his reads and all that. He can probably get that in with a cast on or something to protect it. He just rushed for over 1,000 yards. He doesn't need to get hit by anybody to show that he can run.
Yeah.
Right? And so would it be nice to have him in some live action? Yeah, that would be nice. I think with a wrist injury, he can get enough reps mentally and where he can go out and run around and do some of those things that he'll have an understanding of the offense, and then he'll be ready to go in the fall.
Next, who do you like in the Super Bowl, Eagles or Chiefs?
Man, I mean, obviously I'm rooting for Andy Reid on this one. I actually like the Chiefs. Although the Eagles, I feel like every week I'm like, surely they're going to show their true colors and they're going to fall flat on their face, but they haven't this season. I mean, to their credit, they show up week in and week out. So I'm rooting for the Chiefs, but the Eagles, they're a great squad. I think it's going to be listen, both of them were the number one seeds in their individual conferences. So this is how it should have played out.
Yeah.
And it should be a fun one.
Interesting. The Eagles are like a college team. They run a bunch of RPO stuff with their quarterback. Who does that in pro football? And he was hurt for a while because of it. I just think the Chiefs are so good up front, especially with Jones and that group. Their front seven so good. I think you run too much RPO, Tua is going to get knocked around, and that could be the difference.
I think you give
not Tua. I mean Jalen Hurts.
Jalen, yeah, I think you give Patrick Mahomes 2 weeks to get that ankle sprain figured out too. I think that he'll come out rocking too. So I like the Chiefs. I like Andy Reid too. I like the coaching aspect of it.
Yeah, Kelsey been banged up a little bit. He has a couple of weeks. I think you get some guys healthy on that Chiefs team, and the Eagles have a chance too. It's interesting because my kids are all conflicted. They grew up big, huge Eagles fans because Andy was there, and then they kind of stuck with the Eagles after he left. But now they're all big Andy fans, and so I think some of them are going to be rooting for the Eagles, but I'm going to be rooting for the Chiefs.
Yeah, we got Matt Bushman. Matt Bushman's on the squad.
Yeah, and isn't Zane still there? Is Zane still with the Chiefs?
Zane's on the practice squad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's 2 Cougs and Andy Reid. And
do you get a ring if you're on the practice squad?
I don't know.
That's a great question.
I would think you would.
Do you get it?
I would think you would.
Like, does everyone
listen? They give everybody in the whole player personnel department rings. I would think the practice squad gets rings.
I
the equipment manager is getting a ring, so the practice squad guys should get a ring.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So we got that going for us.
Yeah. So hey, the Eagles don't have any BYU ties anymore.
No.
So I say we're all in on Chiefs.
Although Lewis still loves him and Vi still loves him.
I know, but they're not there anymore. All in on Chiefs. Their coach is at Kansas City. So all in on the Chiefs.
Hey, we'll have you back during camp, which is actually in March, which is in a few hours, we'll say, is next month. Yeah. So we appreciate you jumping on with us and breaking down this schedule. We think 7-5 is doable for year one.
Yep, that's the goal.
Yeah, then you go to a bowl game and win the bowl game, go 8-5 in your first season. I like it.
And then you go nothing but up from there. That'd be great.
Before you know it, after further review, we'll be right back with us and all that stuff. So, hey, go to bed. Thank you for jumping on with us.
Always fun. Thanks, guys.
See you next.
See you. That's our colleague from BYU TV, David Nixon, been with us forever, and we're going to have some really cool pregame shows in front of this giant schedule.
So fun.
Okay, so there's a couple of things, and we've gone over a little bit, but that's okay because today's such a big day. But let's hit a couple of notes on the men's basketball situation because we're calling a game on Saturday.
That's right.
And then there's some cool things on this day in history which I just kind of like. And then we'll get everybody out of here. Podcast again will be up tomorrow. Look for that one. But men's hoops, they've got 3 straight losses going. Heartbreaker to St. Mary's, losing at the buzzer. Dallin all had 23 points, so that was an upside. He's got to make his free throws. But they got LMU coming in on Thursday, and the Lions beat them in L.A. The Lions also beat Gonzaga in Spokane. What do you think about Thursday night on CBS Sports Network?
It's a little bit of a scary one because the Lions are playing with a lot of confidence. As you mentioned, they just beat Gonzaga in Spokane 68-67 on the 19th. They're on a 4-game win streak, so a tough opponent. They better figure out how to cover Cam Shelton because he's been playing out of his mind.
And Lele Pepe, who should be playing rush end for USC, is a nightmare for BYU.
For some reason, BYU struggles with his physicality and the way he gets after the glass and how confident he plays. Shelton had 27 points. This is against the Zags. 11 of 23 from the field, 3 of 6 on threes, 9 boards. This is a 6'2" guard, right? He's averaging 19.2 points a game. The combination of him and Lele Pepe has been tough for BYU, but here's what I think. BYU figures out how to win at home on this one. I just feel like they figure it out. And then they got Pacific on Saturday. You and I are calling that. I'll do game day for the LMU game, and then Saturday at 7 p.m. Mountain on BYU TV.
Thing with the Tigers is BYU beat them by 20 on December 29th, but the Tigers just went into Santa Clara and beat the Broncos 95-89.
Yeah, which is just, you go, what?
Yeah.
And they're an interesting matchup. They start 5 guards. So they're athletic, they're quick. Sometimes teams have trouble matching up with them, but BYU needs to force the matchups in their favor like they did at Pacific. Boone has been really good for them. He's coming off a 27-point game. He had 27 in that win at Santa Clara. 10 of 19 from the field, 6 threes he made. He's their leading scorer. And is it Avdalovic? Yeah, it's Avdalovic. Luke Avdalovic. He had 23 points in that Santa Clara win. 8 of 13, 5 threes. So you know what? They shoot threes. Yeah. They start 5 guards. They shoot threes, and they spread you out. BYU's got to defend the 3. They got to rebound.
Take care of the ball.
And they'll be fine against Pacific. LMU's a little worrisome. I think they get 2 wins this week.
They get their full roster back after the suspensions for Atiki and Robinson and Waterman. We'll see how they respond to that. BYU played just fine without them, and now they've kind of got to earn their opportunities back. And this is a different place for BYU now in the WCC. They're tied with San Francisco in 6th place. Now that we're into February, we start thinking of seedings for the conference tournament.
You got to be in the first 4.
And they still got to go to Moraga. They still got to go to Spokane. If they don't get it right, they could play on opening night.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
On BYU TV.
You and I have never had them on opening night on BYU TV.
And then they'd play the following night, and then the following night before Sunday, and then the semifinals. So it is an impossible road.
It's a long road if you play on opening night. Now, mind you, they're 4-5, and San Francisco's 4-5. But Pacific's 4-4. Santa Clara's 4-4.
Yeah.
LMU's 6-3. Those are the teams in front. Then,
so this is an important week.
Gonzaga and St. Mary's are in a race all on their own. St. Mary's is 8-0, by the way, and 19-4, and Gonzaga's 7-1 and 18-4. Nobody's catching those two for 1 and 2. Oh. But BYU legitimately could catch, they could move up as high as 3rd if they get on a roll.
They got to start playing better.
But they got to take care of the basketball and play better down the stretch.
These are 2 very big swing games. Yep. LMU's ahead of them.
Yeah.
And Pacific, again, what they did with Santa Clara was a head scratcher.
Yeah, they beat LMU and they beat Pacific. They're going to go in front of Pacific in the win column. Move up a couple of spots this week if they do that, and be right on LMU's tail.
So we look forward to seeing you Saturday night on BYU TV at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Men's volleyball 5-1. They're at Ball State Thursday and Friday this week. Gymnastics beat Utah State in Logan. They are at Southern Utah on Friday. And how about track and field?
Yeah, Casey Klinger ran the fastest 3,000-meter race in BYU history down at the Razorback Invitational in Arkansas. So maybe we do go win at Arkansas. I don't know.
If we bring Casey.
Guess whose mark he beat, though? His coach, Ed Eyestone, held that mark for 38 years. He ran it in 7:43.96. The senior from American Fork, breaking his coach's 38.
Do you think Eyestone's had him out running in the snow this week as punishment?
Oh yeah. He's like, you don't take my record.
So he did that, and then here comes the 4x400 relay for the women.
Yeah, so Sammy Alblad and Annalise Hart, Marion Barber, and Briley Pontius, they set the school record for the fastest women's 4x4, 3:39.15. Are you kidding me with that time? So another great outing for the track and field team. The cross country teams for BYU and the tracks teams are second to none. Really, they're top tier.
they'll compete for championships in the Big 12 and be right there in nationals again.
This has been such a great show. This day in history, January 31st, some cool things, and we'll ride out with this and then our inspirational quote of the week. 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which abolished slavery. That happened on this day
in 1865. Also in 1865.
Which is interesting, same day.
Right, same day. Also on this day in 1865, General Robert E. Lee is named Commander-in-Chief of the Confederate Armies in the Civil War.
So it's on. They abolished slavery, and the fight begins.
On. Yep, the war's on.
1948, the first magnetic tape recorder is developed by Wireway. Where would we be without the magnetic tape?
Yep, so that led
Especially
to everything.
In our business.
That's what led to everything, right?
Yeah.
So 1948 or 1949, the next year on this day, the first daytime soap opera debuts on NBC. It's called These Are My Children. I remember All My Children.
Yeah.
But I don't remember These Are My Children.
Was All My Children the spoof off of These Are My Children?
I don't know what
And then it's like finally they give up and they go,
49.
They're all my children.
Did they have TVs in 49? Evidently. So.
Evidently. Yeah, they didn't have color. Color TV didn't come till the 50s, but they got that going on in NBC Chicago. 1971 on this day, Apollo 14 launches to the moon.
Yeah, in 1975, Mandy by Barry Manilow goes gold.
Isn't that one of the greatest songs ever?
Mandy, and
I've
you
seen him
came
sing
and
that
you gave
live
without taking.
a number of times, and it's just awesome.
Barry Manilow, how many hits?
So many.
So good.
And commercials, Oscar Mayer, all those theme songs. To all the patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. 1988 on this night, Washington beat Denver 42-10 in the Super Bowl.
I remember that. 1993. So, no, let's see. Washington beat Denver. Wasn't Jason Buck on that team and Kurt Govea?
Could have been.
I think they were on
Could
that
have been.
Washington
Elway
team.
was the quarterback for the Broncos.
Yep, I think they were. 1993 Super Bowl. A lot of Super Bowls played on January 31st.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys beat the Buffalo Bills 52-17.
I remember that. We were Cowboy fans, and they just slaughtered the Bills.
Yep.
But, man, think of that Cowboy group. Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin.
Dominating.
And then 1999, the Broncos finally got theirs with John Elway as they beat the Falcons 34-19.
Yep. And then how about 2023 on this day? 2023 on this day, the Big 12 announces BYU's first P5 football conference schedule.
That's an awesome ring to that.
That's right.
That's history.
This day today.
Birthdays on this day, Henry Desgrange, and I'm not saying it right, I'm sure, but he was the founder of the Tour de France.
I don't even know. It's Desgrange. Is it Desgrange?
It could have been. It could have been.
My kids all know French, so. But Tour de France, 1865. 1919, Jackie Robinson was born.
1931, Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks.
Yep, Ernie Banks.
A lot of baseball guys.
1947. If you're a baseball guy, January 31st is big. Nolan Ryan born, 1947.
1981, Justin Timberlake. I was at the Super Bowl when he did the halftime show, and let me tell you, it's so much better on TV. Those shows don't work in football stadiums.
Well, this last year, though, when we went California and it was Snoop and Dre and those guys, it didn't matter where you were. It was great.
I bet it was still better on TV because we could hear.
I know. I would go to a Justin Timberlake concert tomorrow if there was one around. I'd go.
He was bouncing all over the place. 1981, his birthday today. All right, our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week. It felt like Vince Lombardi should be part of the show.
Vince Lombardi type of a day?
Yeah.
So, okay, here we go. Winning is not a sometime thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing.
I liked the dramatic way you read that.
Yeah.
How true is that? Winning's a habit, losing's a habit.
Yeah, it is. And how many times do we go, oh, this team just doesn't know how to win. They're just in a habit of losing. They just don't know. And how many times do we say, you know what, this team just thinks they're going to win. So even when they're behind, I played on some teams where I was like, we won't ever lose a game. Just expect to win.
You just described the difference between BYU, Gonzaga, and St. Mary's.
Yeah. Right now, Gonzaga expects to win every night, and when they don't, it's an aberration. Yeah. When they lost to LMU, they're like, okay, let's just look at what we did wrong because that's ridiculous. We'll never do that again.
Right. And St. Mary's, too. They're just like, yeah, we're going to – I know the crowd's coming down on us. We're going to hit this shot over Foose. We're just going to make it.
Talent and experience add up to success in basketball. BYU has talent, but they don't have experience, but they better get it going.
And this, you know what? Getting experience is painful.
Yeah, that's hard.
You can't just skip through and get the good things.
No.
Thanks to Lauren Gustin, the nation's #1 rebounder, assistant coach Morgan Bailey. They were in studio with us.
How fun were they?
I thought that
to
was
have in
just great.
studio? I loved having them in studio.
You know, and it's nerve-wracking for a player to come in and sit here and get grilled by us. We're not at the Marriott Center. We're not in the media room where they're even used to things.
Right.
I thought Lauren was spectacular.
And you know what's hard? She's a great player. Like, she's just not good. She's the top rebounder in the country. It's hard to sit here and have people tell you how great you are.
And we're going to do it.
But she is. We're not exaggerating. She is the best rebounder in the country, bar none.
Assistant coach Morgan Bailey, who was great in her day. And her day wasn't too long ago.
No, and how
Player
good
of the
was
year in the WCC.
You could see how she relates to the players. And she is a good coach, and she's going to be a great coach.
And she's went to the Sweet 16.
Yep.
Follow me.
Yep.
Softball head coach Gordon Eakin getting ready for another season. He's got a very talented roster.
765? Is that the number? 765 wins.
Career wins. North Carolina, they play in 9 days on February 9th in Mexico. So we wish them the best of luck. And then our friend David Nixon, our BYU TV football analyst, and together our combined minds came up with 7-5 for BYU.
Is what we got.
Assistant coach Kelly Papinga will be here next week. So will Mark Comer. He's the co-chair of the Royal Blue Collective. He is going to explain how BYU's NIL works and how promises made are promises paid, which is a big advantage for a school that's keeping their word with student athletes at a time where we hear so many other schools going, I didn't promise you that kind of money.
Do you want to know why there's so many kids in the transfer portal? Because people don't live up to their promises across the country. BYU is going to and does.
So that'll be a fascinating conversation. Again, the podcast's up tomorrow. Tell your friends. Go to Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, ysguys.com. Subscribe, like us.
Yep.
Get our weekly email that'll come to you, give you the highlights of the show, and then we'll just we'll see you Saturday night at the Marriott Center.
And those for you that hung with us all night, we appreciate you. Next week we'll get you out 2 minutes early.
We will do 2 minutes early.
Yeah.
We guarantee it. We had a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, there was a lot on the schedule.
For Blaine Fowler, I'm Dave McCann. We're the Wise Guys. Thank you for being with us. Have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday, Saturday, and then Tuesday.
And I'll see you Thursday night.
Thursday, Saturday, and Tuesday.
Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday. We'll see you all those nights.
All right. Take care.